Part 56. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 559. Chapter 548 Fire is harmless. Fellow Taoist Gao Yi, Huo Wuhe has 5 inscriptions. It's just that there is a treasure that is destined for me that I haven't taken from this stone tablet. Su Junming interrupted him. What? You've been trapped in the mountains for 300 years because of this half-piece of clutch goyungui, haven't you come to your senses yet? Huo Wuhe's face changed slightly. I don't know what you mean by friends. He could see that although the green-robed man in front of him had no mana fluctuations in his body, he must be highly skilled in being able to pass through a 1,000-foot sea of fire to get here. What's more, he also broke the great 5 elements extinction divine light needle that had trapped him for 300 years. Strength plus kindness, Huo Wuhe's tone was very respectful. Except for Li Huo, there is probably nothing left in your head. With a wave of De Xiu's hand, Huo Wuhe was swept up by a violent wave that he couldn't resist, and flew out along a black space passage that suddenly appeared in mid-air. If Lai He Gaunke was really destined to you, you wouldn't have been able to obtain it for 300 years, and your body would have been destroyed. The lingering sound filled my ears. Huo Wuhe looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar Ur Island thousands of feet below. He was stunned for a moment. Not only was he shocked that the opponent's magical power was so powerful, a flick of his sleeves could make him unable to resist, and he could instantly move outside the fire eye of Tsukier Island. He was thinking about the deeper meaning of the other person's words. He is not a stupid person, it's just that he is involved in it and is obsessed with it, making it difficult to understand. Now that I have been awakened, I suddenly understand. A trace of sadness showed on his face. Haha, 2 heroes and 2 beauties, separation and union, Nanming, fire to fire, you are Yu Yuchen. Ha ha ha. I was trapped by one sentence for 300 years. Boom. The thunderous sound interrupted Huo Wuhe's self-deprecating laughter. Subconsciously, he looked towards the place where the sound came from. Soon he discovered that the extremely rich Binghuo spiritual energy around Ur Island was rapidly diminishing. How can it be? Under the trend of curiosity, he urged the escape light to come to the crater. In an instant, he saw that the underground fire magma that had almost spewed out of the mountain pass seemed to have been eaten by some giant monster. At this point, it is declining rapidly. When he came over, it had disappeared thousands of feet, and was still decreasing rapidly. Gradually, the once intense heat slowly subsided. After the earth fire magma dropped to 10,000 feet, no trace of Binghuo spiritual energy could be felt around Ur Island. Fortunately, it is the Ur Island volcano, which is restricted by Master Lianshan's magic. Otherwise, the lowest point of the funnel-shaped mountain belly would have reached a height of 3,000 miles at this moment. Without the support of magma, the strength of the rock wall alone cannot support such a huge weight of the mountain. Slowly, in the eyes of Huo Wuhe in disbelief, a majestic stone gate, which was completely green and thousands of feet high, slowly emerged from the earth's fire magma. An unimaginably powerful aura spread out, and Huo Wuhe could clearly feel it even from thousands of feet away. What a powerful magic weapon! I'm afraid it's a treasure handed down from ancient times. As soon as the thought fell, I saw the green stone door disappear in an instant. A bolt of light that was as fast as lightning crossed a huge mountain in just a few moments, and when it came to his side, it stopped for a moment. It was the Taoist in green robe that he had seen in the Lianshan cave mansion. Why haven't you left yet? Seeing Su Junming with surging magic power, fulfilling his wishes as if he were in prison, and having an unimaginable aura, Huo Wuhe was shocked. He couldn't help but recall the hardships of seeking the truth in the past 1,000 years, and being imprisoned for 300 years for a secret book of inheritance. Years of pain. The scenes in the past gave him mixed feelings, and he gritted his teeth in an instant. Kneel down in the air. Disciple Huo is harmless, and I ask the immortal master to take pity on me and accept him as my disciple. I will practice assiduously in the morning and evening, no matter the cold or heat. In the future, I will tie a grass ring with a ring in my head, ride on the saddle and ride on the horse, to repay my master for his deep kindness. Dong 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 means 3 sounds. Seeing Huo Wuhe with a pious look on his face, Su Junming was a little surprised. He didn't originally plan to accept him as his disciple, but he didn't expect that he would be sent to him in the end. If I asked you to reincarnate and rebuild your cultivation, would you be willing? Reincarnation and rebuilding. You come from a side sect and have a weak foundation. If you don't cultivate again, even if you can ascend the immortal path in the future, you will not be able to go far. I don't need such a disciple under my section. Huo Wuhe also knew that he came from a side sect and his skills were not as good as the authentic Suanman, otherwise he wouldn't have gone to Lianshan treasure house to look for the fire scripture. As for Lai He Gaungi, it was greed that came after seeing the stone tablet left by Lianshan. It was not the main purpose of his coming to Moon Island. Seeing his hesitation, Su Junming did not urge him. Reincarnation and rebuilding are just a harmless test of his fire. If this person does not have the courage to risk his life and survive, then he is not qualified to join the Chongshan lineage. Looking at Ur Island at his feet, Su Junming waved the bamboo stick in his hand, and the vast green wood aura fell down like a giant axe. In an instant, a large rift valley thousands of feet wide and hundreds of feet deep appeared in the center of Ur Island. The churning sea water flows along the rift valley and pours into the ancient fire eye, which is currently 10,000 feet deep. Thunder roared instantly, and thick water vapor spread, quickly spreading throughout the underground caves 3,000 miles away. As seawater continues to be injected, more and more water vapor is produced, and finally a 30-mile wide white column of air follows the former crater and soars straight into the sky. When the seawater filled the volcanic cave, Su Junming once again used the celestial gate to swallow the magma churning underground. 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet, until 100,000 feet passed. The earthly Lung Taewo, which had been stagnated from ancient times to the present, was finally swept away. There is no more water vapor coming out of the fully cooled lake bottom. A lake with a radius of 30 miles and connected to the sea replaced the original position of the Eye of Fire. After taking back the celestial elephant gate, a slightly heavy feeling spread into my heart. The spiritual consciousness enters into the void space that is nearly 10,000 miles within the celestial elephant gate. A huge sphere with a diameter of 100,000 miles and made entirely of magma came into view. The flame aura accumulated inside is enough to create nearly 100 immortals who specialize in fire magic. Activate the bronze mirror in Danshan to reflect back on yourself. A 5-story bright yellow canopy appeared in front of you. This is the humanitarian merit accumulated by Su Junming in 3 worlds. Each layer of canopy means millions of merits. The 5th level is 50 million merit. Next to the canopy, there is a dense mist the color of Buddhist scripture paper. The moment Su Junming eliminated the ancient fire eye, a stream of brown-yellow color, slightly thicker than a soybean, and 3 inches long, was injected with merit energy. In an instant, the dense mist the color of the Buddhist scripture paper began to stir, and gradually turned into a brown-yellow ruler 1 foot 9 inches long, 1 finger thick, and 3 inches wide, embossed with dragons, seals, and phoenix seals. Su Junming was overjoyed. The heavenly merits he had accumulated before were just a ball of dense air, but now he saw it take form for the first time, which meant that after years of accumulation, the heavenly merits had finally reached a new level. At the moment when the Xian Huang ruler was formed, all the mana that had been tightly sealed was finally released. The magic power belonging to the late stage of immortals was released without any scruples. The vast mana stirred the wind and clouds, and a 9th-grade cloud chi lotus bloomed thousands of feet high in the sky. Su Junming moved his muscles and bones, and there was a crunching sound. The churning energy and blood in his body, and the billowing mana, were no longer restrained. Finally recovered. After suppressing the joy in his heart, he gathered his magic power and used the sealing talisman to seal his whole body 3 feet again. In an instant, there was no sound at all, just like an ordinary person with no cultivation. A ray of red light held up the red-haired, red-skinned, harmless baby-shaped fire, and lightning flew over. The latter looked firm and knelt down in submission. This disciple is willing to be reincarnated and cultivate again, and then enter the disciples of his mentor. You don't regret it? No regrets. He quickly shook his head. With such a powerful master to guide him, even reincarnation and retraining would be worth it. The Kinli Yunlian just now made him completely understand how tyrannical the man in green robe before him was. I'm afraid there are few people in the entire cultivation world who can compare with him. Becoming a disciple of such a strong man is a rare opportunity for any monk. Although it is a pity to give up the magic power of thousands of years of hard work and the body of Luo, it is indeed a brighter future. Su Junming nodded slightly. It's rare that you have such determination. But if you want to become a disciple, I can't accept you. He waved his hand to interrupt Huo Wuhei. Listen to me first. Yes. Huo Wuhei said quickly. There are 4 ancestors in my Chongshan lineage. The third ancestor, Tai 5 Virtues True Monarch, entered the Tao with the innate 5 elements. His strength is profound and he has achieved the realm of immortals. You are a body of Luo, and the Qi of Luo accumulated over thousands of years is extremely vast. In the future, when you are reborn, this body of Luo will be enough to become the red fire god in our sect's most powerful magical power, the great 5 elements divine light. Light. When the time comes, use Luo to aid Wutu, use Wutu to aid Zhengjin, and use the 5 elements will to turn the wheel. The time to practice the great 5 elements divine light will be shortened a lot. Are you willing to become his disciple? Yes, yes. Huo Wuhei nodded quickly. In the past 300 years, he had suffered enough from Master Lianshan's great 5 elements extinguishing light needle, and he also longed for the Tao of the 5 elements. Su Junming nodded and just opened his mouth. He frowned slightly and looked to the northeast. Huo Wuhei was a little surprised at first, but not long after, his consciousness also felt changes. To the northeast, the 2 escaping lights became increasingly clear. It didn't take long before they came within 100 feet of the 2 of them. The light dispersed, revealing a young woman wearing a black robe, with a thin figure, a mournful eyebrow, and a cold expression. Next to her was an ugly man nearly 10 feet tall, wearing a golden robe. Compared with his strong figure, this man's eyes are warm and steady. Unlike the woman next to her, she was full of hostility. The 2 glanced at Su Junming and Huo Wuhei, and their eyes quickly focused on the latter. After all, compared to Su Junming, who seemed to have little cultivation, Huo Wuhei, who was in the later stage of Yuan Shen, seemed to be the most threatening. Who are you and why are you here on your island? The woman's tone was condescending, as if she was interrogating a servant. Huo Wuhei is a body separated from fire, adhering to the nature of fire, and has a slightly irritable temperament. Upon hearing the woman's words, his brows instantly furrowed, and a trace of anger appeared on his face. However, although he has an impetuous temperament, he knows etiquette. He didn't curse, but looked at Su Junming next to him, his eyes full of questions. Su Junming smiled lightly. Your island is where the Lianshan treasure house is located. What do you think I'm doing here? When the woman heard this, her eyes instantly became greedy. She was practicing in the palace just now, and suddenly she heard from the disciple on duty that there were thunders in the direction of your island, and white clouds and mist were rising straight into the sky. It seemed like there was a big change. He hurriedly took all the treasures and flew straight towards your island. The person who got the same news as her was the strong man next to her. The reason why he came was not because of the Lianshan treasure house, but because he had been favored by Master Lianshan and was afraid that the place would change drastically and disturb the master's remains. Your island belongs to my Xiun Palace, and all the treasures in the treasure house belong to my Xiun Palace. If you don't want to offend me, Xiun Palace, you'd better hand over the treasures. The woman was not polite. Xiun Palace? Are you Sanfan or Dongxiu? Su Junming said with a smile. The woman's face changed slightly. You know me. After a slight nod, I have heard that there is a mean and ungrateful maid in Xiun Palace named Dongxiu. Relying on the trust of the three palace masters, she acted recklessly and caused a lot of blood debt. The woman was instantly furious. Damn it, how dare you set me up? His right hand formed a sword finger, and in an instant, a white circle flew out of his sleeve, like light and electricity, and hit Su Junming straight away. Dong Xiaoman thought that his methods were enough to kill this man with one blow. After all, he doesn't seem to have much cultivation. Unexpectedly, after coming to this person, his best treasure seemed to lose all its power in an instant. The spiritual light disappeared, and turned into a silver-white circle as thick as an adult's thumb and 1 foot and 3 inches in diameter, and fell into the other person's side. In the palm of your hand. The whole process looked as if she had thrown this treasure to the other party. How can it be? Dong Xiu's face was full of disbelief. Not only him, but also the strong man in gold robe who came with him also had a serious look on his face. This dragon bird ring was originally taken out of Lianshan's treasure house. Although it is not as powerful as his own Tai Chingning fan, it is so powerful that few can rival it. Dong Xiu relied on this treasure to travel across the East China Sea. Except for a few senior immortals, few people were her opponents. In addition, Xiun Palace was supporting her, which made her even more arrogant. Su Junming threw the dragon bird ring in his hand. As he expected, this treasure was indeed an immortal weapon, and it was also two of the forbidden immortal weapons. Unfortunately, Dong Xiu did not have enough magic power to exert its power, so Su Junming used his sealed magical power to suppress it easily. It's a pity that the mother ring of the dragon bird ring is still in the hands of Zhu Mei, the second elder of Songshan. Otherwise, if they were put together as a set, it would be more powerful. He casually put the dragon sparrow ring into his sleeve. Hey, are there any other methods? If you don't use it sooner, I will take action. The strong man in golden robe quickly bowed and saluted. Senior, please temporarily extinguish your thunderous wrath. We have no intention of offending. Since there is no intention to offend, let's go. Su Junming waved his hand. This. The strong man in golden robe showed hesitation on his face. They have been in Xiun Palace for 500 years, and he knows Dong Xiu's temperament very well. If you lose a valuable treasure, you will be willing to retreat. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 560. Chapter 549 Tai Chingning Fan. Jing Sunu, you use Tai Chingning Fan, and I use Tian Moa. If you don't suppress this guy today, I will be very angry, Dong Xiu said angrily. Jing Sunu's spiritual consciousness transmits the sound. Dong Xiu, can't you see that this person's cultivation level is much higher than ours? Hi. Humph. This person is just plotting something secretly. I don't believe we can't defeat him with the combined strength of the two of us. I also have helpers, and the cultivation level of the red boy next to me is no less than mine, Jing Sunu said helplessly. Dong Xiu's voice suddenly became serious. Jing Sunu, if you are nagging me again, I will ask the third princess to report to the eldest princess that you colluded with foreign enemies, framed me, and caused me to lose the dragon bird ring. I will see how you explain it then. Jing Sunu was instantly angry. Dong Xiu, do you dare? See if I dare. Looking at her threatening eyes, Jin Sunu, who was familiar with her temperament, took a deep breath. At first, he failed in a battle with Taoist iron umbrella and was sealed into the altar and sank to the bottom of the sea. As a result, he was rescued by Chu Feng, the eldest princess of Xiun Palace, and was taught the Dike golden medal. He was grateful for the other person's kindness, and not only recognized him as his master, but also offered his own Yuan Dan, which he had practiced hard for hundreds of years, so that he could control it more easily. Since ancient times, there has never been a more loyal person than him. However, being loyal is a bit too much, and life and death are in the hands of others. The helpless Jin Sunu opened his palms, and a 2 feet 3 inch long, light blue banana fan appeared in his hands. Dong Xiu snorted coldly when she saw the other party giving in. You know the truth. After that, he took off his clothes, revealing his smooth body. Huo Wuhei took one look, and a look of disgust instantly appeared on his face. Grandmaster, do you want me to kill this shameless maid? Su Junming nodded slightly. Go ahead. Huo Wuhei showed excitement on his face. Although he had been trapped for 300 years, he had also practiced the Kanli Taiyang Sutra for 300 years. Born like this, it's just a good time to try out my methods. Shameless bitch, look at my harmless methods. As he raised his hand, the strong sun essence turned into light needles, like a rain of flowers all over the sky, hitting Dongxiu and Jing Sunu overwhelmingly. This sun god's light needle is a unique skill that he has perfected over the past 300 years by understanding the great 5 elements extinction god's light needle. It is extremely powerful. Jing Sunu looked at the sky full of light needles with a solemn expression. He held up the Tai Ching Ning fan in his hand and fanned it hard. In an instant, an overwhelming wave swept across the sky, like an angry dragon, and when it collided with the harmless sun god light needle, there was a huge earthquake. They insist on each other and do not give in to each other. Huo Wuhei has practiced hard for thousands of years and has powerful magic power. The scale of the sun god's light needle is getting bigger and bigger, with millions of golden needles moving like meteors across the sky. Jing Sunu has also practiced hard for nearly 1,000 years, and the Tai Ching Ning fan in his hand is the most precious treasure used by Master Lian Shan for refining demons. It is so powerful that the strong wind howls across the sky and the earth. The two will meet a good talent, and the fight will become more and more intense. However, Su Junming could tell that Jin Sunu had been holding back, otherwise Huo Wuhei couldn't stop him with the power of Tai Ching Ning Fan's magical weapon and only his magic power. At this time, Dongxiu had activated her magic power and danced the heavenly demon dance. In an instant, a series of overwhelming sounds poured into my ears. An illusion suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. Countless beauties with slim body, graceful figure, and thin clothes appeared in front of him. They refuse to welcome you, their faces are full of beauty, their eyes are charming, and their charm is infinite. This lively scene is a supreme enjoyment that is hard to refuse for any man. Su Junming is certainly no exception. However, his cultivation level is much higher than Dongxiu's. He was used to seeing all kinds of beauties in the Chinese world, plus he has advanced soul cultivation level. It was even more difficult for Demon Wu to confuse him this day. However, the opportunity is rare, so it doesn't hurt to appreciate it. Dongxiu looked at the interested expression on the face of the man in green robe opposite, which did not look like he was confused at all, and couldn't help being shocked. Her demonic dance is unstoppable. Even ordinary earth immortals can't resist it, but the other party can't be affected? Impossible. Gritting his teeth and activating 12 points of mana, the sound of me became stronger. Su Junming shook his head. It's the same thing on both sides, that is, the ancients in the feudal era were tempted by such coquettish women. Raise the bamboo stick in your hand and brush gently. Aoki's spiritual light surged, and the vast Aoki's spiritual energy instantly crushed Dongxiu's Tian Moa. The latter's magic was broken, and a mouthful of blood popped out, and his face instantly turned pale. A look of fear appeared on his face. Jing Sunu had been on guard against Su Junming's attack. When he saw the green aura covering the sky and as big as a huge mountain, he was shocked and summoned up his magic power to activate the Tai Ching fan with all his strength. The blue light surged, and a green wind pillar that was 100 feet thick and nearly 1,000 feet long, with a roar that ripped apart the sky and the earth, blocked the powerful greenwood spiritual light. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jin Suna came to Dong Xiu's side like lightning, hugged him up, and slapped Tai Chingning hard behind him. In an instant, the escape light surged, and he was thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye. Su Junming waved his sleeves, the divine light of the seal dispersed, and the world instantly became calm. Huo Wuhei flew over with a look of shame on his face. My disciple's skills are inferior to others, so let that ugly ghost run away. You don't have to blame yourself. That Jing Sunu's cultivation level is no less than yours, not to mention that he has a treasure like the Tai Chingning fan in his hand. If she didn't want to have a grudge with us, you would not be his opponent. Huo Wuhei nodded. After seeing the power of those last few blows, he knew he couldn't stop them. Ancestor, in the future, my disciples must work hard to practice and never let what happened today happen again. Huo Wuhei looked determined. After looking at him, Su Junming opened his palm, and a small light golden crossbow with 3 gold, 3 red, 3 green and 9 crossbow arrows appeared in his hand. This treasure is called the innate one Qi God and Demon crossbow. It is paired with 3 crossbow arrows each of Zhengjin, Shiwo, and Sunfen. It will be given to you today. Looking at the extremely bright fairy light on the crossbow, it was even more brilliant than the fan in the hand of the ugly ghost just now. Huo Wuo, who had never received such a treasure, looked extremely excited. Ancestor, disciple. Huo Wuhei was choked and speechless. Seeing him like this, Su Junming shook his head inwardly. This kid is so poor. Only casual practitioners can understand the suffering of casual cultivators. There is no method, no elixir, and no teacher. Anyone who can stand out from among the 3 withouts and achieve extraordinary things is a person with excellent qualifications and endowments. Of course, what made him so excited was that the innate one Qi God demon crossbow practiced by Su Junming was too powerful. Back then in the Xianyuan Holy Tomb, the 49 divine crossbows were trained into the current one, the innate one Qi God and demon crossbow with the 3rd level of immortal forbidden level. For any Yuan Shen monk, even one who has achieved immortality, this is a valuable treasure. That is to say, Su Junming has enough treasures in his hands and is strong enough. He no longer values low-grade fairy-level magic weapons. Otherwise, who would be willing to give them to others? Since you are determined to give up your 1,000-year cultivation and practice again, I naturally won't let you suffer. Take it. Huo Wuhei took a deep breath, raised his hands above his head, and respectfully took the crossbow and 9 divine arrows. Thank you very much, Patriarch, for giving me this treasure. My disciples will practice diligently to repay the great kindness of Patriarch for giving me this treasure and preaching the truth. Su Junming nodded slightly. Get up. After carefully putting away the innate Qi God demon crossbow, Huo Wuhei stood up. Grand Master, those 2 thieves have already run away, do we still want to chase them? Of course. Although our Chongshan family does not take the initiative to cause trouble, if someone bullies us at home, we will never swallow our anger. Hearing Huo Wuhei's plain but firm tone, a strong sense of security rose from the bottom of his heart. This was a feeling he had never had in the past 1,000 years. For a time, he felt a strong sense of belonging to this new ancestor and new sect. Walk. Su Junming Daxia waved his hand, brought Huo Wuo, and urged Hu Tianshen to perform the magic. In a few flashes, it spanned 3,000 miles. When it reappeared, it was a sandbank on the sea, covered with kiwao grass and 1,000-year-old trees. The greenery was sultry and the scenery was beautiful. However, it is full of craftsmanship, which is obviously acquired and not innate. In the center of the sandbank, there is an octagonal pavilion. There is a stone tablet in the pavilion with a 3-character inscription in regular script. Yang Guang Pavilion. Several men and women who mentioned that they were on duty on the island with swords saw Su Junming flying over. An ordinary-looking young woman wearing a goose yellow gown stepped forward and said respectfully, "Jinping, a disciple of Xiun Palace, pays homage to 2 seniors. I don't know which princess of Xiun Palace the senior is familiar with. I will inform you immediately. Jinping." A look in the bronze mirror shows that although this person's cultivation is not high, she has a solid foundation. What's even more difficult is that she also has merit. In comparison, the companions next to her were far behind. Su Junming still remembers that after Jin Chan, Shi Sheng, and Yi Jing from Shu Mountain, together with the 2 elders from Songshan, destroyed Xiun Palace, in addition to introducing Lu Rongbo and Yang Li to Yimei, they also accepted 3 disciples: Jinping, Long Litzi, and Zhao Shiniang. These 3 people can emerge from the mire without being stained, which is obviously extraordinary concentration. Now it seems that their qualifications are also high. Although they are not qualified to be the direct descendants of Chongshan, they are enough to be an inner disciple. After the thought fell, Su Junming stretched out his hand and a silvery white light flashed through. Jinping, along with the few evil disciples around him, all had their cultivation sealed by him and were temporarily put away. In the future, those who need to preach and those who need to do hard work will all have a place to go. Activate the bronze mirror, and the invisible mirror light penetrates the island. Soon you can see a channel thousands of miles deep, shining with colorful auras, and completely made of sand, going straight to the bottom of the sea. The other end of the divine sand passage goes deep into a pitch-black underwater cave with a diameter of 100 miles. The huge cave is bottomless, about 100 feet deep, and a pearl palace shell palace with many formations and countless restrictions comes into view. At the front of the palace is an archway with 3 characters of Xiun Palace written on it, which is sparkling and extremely mysterious. Passing through the archway and walking along the stone steps paved with white marble, you will reach a gorgeous palace. The 3 words Qianhua Palace were written. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 561. Dong Xiu and Jing Sunu, who once fought with Su Junming, are both here. In addition to the 2 of them, there were 4 other people sitting at the top. At the main seat is a young woman wearing a white dress, with a majestic aura and beautiful appearance. On her left is a young woman wearing a pink dress, with her hair tied high and a kind expression on her face. Sitting on the right side of the main seat is a man wearing a purple dress and long hair shawl. Although he is beautiful, his cheeks are fleshless and his forehead is slightly raised, giving him a stingy and mean appearance. Below the 3 people, there sat a handsome young nun wearing a blue monk's robe and holding a rosary. She was meditating with her eyes closed, as if she was indifferent and pretending to be foreign. There were many disciples standing around the 4 of them, and Jin Sunu and Dong Xiu stood in the center of the hall. "Sister, that Taoist is so disgusting, he actually hurt Sister Dong Xiu like this." Sanfan, who was wearing a purple robe, said angrily. Ahem. Dong Xiu covered her chest and coughed twice. Her voice was hoarse, as if she was having a hard time. Combined with her pale face, she looked particularly seriously injured. "Thank you, third princess, for your consideration. Although I was seriously injured, I have gotten better after taking the eldest princess's elixir. There is no need to avenge me." The conversation changed. "I just hate that thief for not taking my Xiun Palace seriously. His dirty words are really irritating." Jin Sunu frowned and glanced at her without saying much. Sanfan and Dong Xiu were already on good terms with each other. The 2 had similar personalities and were in the same boat. As soon as I heard this, I became even angrier. Eldest sister, second sister, our Xiun Palace has been based in the East China Sea for 500 years. Not to mention overseas powers such as Suangi Palace, Xiankong Island, and Macau Island, even Imei and Wutai in China dare not look down on us. This person is so arrogant. Not only did he injure Sister Dongxiu, but he also didn't take Xiun Palace seriously. I had to teach him a lesson no matter what. Third sister, please be patient. Chifeng, who was sitting in the middle, comforted her sister and turned her head. Jin Sunu. Benefactor. You and Dongxiu are fighting enemies at the same time. How strong is that person? At least he's at the level of Earth Immortal. Earth Immortal. The expressions of everyone in the hall changed instantly. In the Shusan world, Earth Immortals refer to those monks in the Heavenly Immortal Realm who have reached the Heavenly Immortal Realm but have not ascended to the upper world. Is this person really that strong? Chu Feng looked solemn. It will only get stronger. If I hadn't had the Tai Ching Ning Fan to protect me, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to come back this time. You are a slave who is not afraid of death and deliberately exaggerates the enemy's strength, right? Sanfan glared angrily. Third sister, what are you talking nonsense about? Is he like that? The woman in white on the left scolded. Second sister, you will protect him. I'm just discussing the matter, Sanfan said. You. Okay, don't make any noise. After Chifeng suppressed the quarrel between the two sisters, she turned to look at the nun. Anyang, how do you feel at this time? Amitabha, the poor nun is already a monk, so it's hard to say. It's up to the princess to make the decision herself. Huizu whispered the Buddha's name and then said. She had practiced cultivation for 2 lifetimes and finally achieved her current results, so she didn't want to be tainted by the cause and effect. Therefore, the magical elixirs in Xiun Palace are never taken. He never expressed his opinions on any decisions made by the 3 palace masters, but only relied on the rich spiritual energy of this place to seek immortality. Although he had expected this to happen, Chifeng's eyes still showed a little disappointment. Her character is a bit weak and she doesn't have much opinion. She is really not suitable to be the head of the first palace of Xiun Palace. Otherwise, a fairy palace would not have become what it is now. Sister, if you don't agree, I will find that bullshit Taoist myself to avenge Sister Dongxiu and avenge me, Xiun Palace. You don't need to look for it, Pandeo is already here. The clear voice echoed in the hall. In an instant, everyone's color changed. There are countless immortals in Xiun Palace, and they are protected by the inverted 5 elements Great Chaos Formation. No one can enter unless they have a pass token. There was a loud bang. It seemed as if the entire Xiun Palace was trembling. Not good. Chu Feng's expression changed drastically, and he quickly flew out of the Qianghua Palace. When he looked up, his mouth suddenly opened with disbelief. In mid-air, she spent 100 years of hard work to collect the essence of the 5 elements to practice the sacred sand. With the help of 108 small formations, she practiced the inverted 5 elements Great Chaos Formation and combined it into the sacred sand channel. It was shaking endlessly at this moment, as if it was being grabbed by an infinite force and shaking violently. In an instant, there was a click, and Xiun Palace shook violently. Everyone was not paying attention for a moment, but they were still in danger of being thrown out. The sacred sand passage that was thousands of miles long was grabbed by a giant palm that stretched thousands of feet into the sky, and then was pulled to the sea and disappeared. The sacred sand passage that was regarded as the Great Wall was broken so simply and crudely. Chu Feng was extremely shocked, but at least she still had some determination. After taking a deep breath, he shouted, "Everyone go back, no one is allowed to leave the palace privately." The strength of the visitor exceeded her original expectations. Now, let alone seeking revenge, being able to block the opponent with the help of Xiun Palace's immortal Forbidden City was already a blessing. Sanfan, who had just clamored for revenge, said nothing more and walked into the palace obediently. Although she is arrogant, she is not a fool. Just based on the momentum of just breaking the sacred sand channel, she knew that the person coming was of a high level of cultivation, far beyond what she could compare to. At this moment, on the sea, Su Junming grabbed the sacred sand passage and threw it away. The vast five elements divine sand was swallowed up by the celestial elephant gate. At first, this treasure was collected by the two elders of Songshan with the dragon bird ring. When they opened their mansion in Imei, they added a scene to it. Su Junming did not have such a hobby. What he wanted to do was to refine this sacred sand into a magic weapon and give it to his disciples in the future. Walk. Hua Wuhei, who was immersed in the tyrannical power of his ancestor and couldn't extricate himself, reacted and quickly followed. The two of them crossed thousands of miles of ocean and came to the purple jade archway on the bottom of the sea. After briefly looking at the three characters' Zeun Palace on it, they saw the first phoenix, second phoenix, and third phoenix who were looking at him solemnly. Feng, Huizhu, Jinxunu, Dongziu, and others. Senior, we are willing to admit defeat and bow our heads. Please don't embarrass yourself, Chifeng said. The great magic power Su Junming displayed when he took away the sacred sand passage completely shocked her. Eldest sister, why should I bow to him? Even if I try, I can't break through the many immortal restrictions in Zeun Palace. Sanfen looked dissatisfied. Shut up. Chu Feng said angrily. Sister. Sanfen felt unwilling, but didn't say much. The entire Zeun Palace, that is, she could still listen to Chifeng's words. No one else, including Irfan, could control her. I hope that senior will be kind and righteous and let us go. It's rare for you to be able to maintain your principles while practicing the devil's way. It's a pity that you took the wrong path, and you will inevitably have to go through reincarnation again in the future. Chu Feng's heart skipped a beat. Senior. He waved his hand to interrupt her. I have no intention of occupying your Zeun Palace. I just got beaten up for no reason. This will come out no matter what. Chu Feng's heart tightened. Before she could say anything more, she saw a blue divine gate flying out of the man's head. Along with the rich green light, the door opened, Su Junming walked into it with Hua Wuhei, and suddenly appeared in front of Chu Feng and others. The figure that suddenly appeared in front of them made everyone change their colors instantly. They have never seen anyone who can penetrate the restrictions of Zeun Palace. Even the Earth Immortal has difficulty in doing so. In the past 500 years, they had times when they were blocked like now, but they managed to survive with the help of Zeun Palace. I originally thought it would be the same this time, but I didn't expect to be passed over so easily. To be honest, Zeun Palace's restrictions are indeed very strong, but Tianyi Golden Mother is just an immortal, and the immortal restrictions arranged can block people of the same realm who cannot understand the formation. But it can't stop a great monk like Su Junming who has already understood the Tao of formation and space, and has comprehended the pinnacle of Taoism. What's more, he also has the help of the celestial sect. With a flash of silver-white light, all the people in Zeun Palace who wanted to take action were instantly frozen. After sealing their bodies and mana, Su Junming reached out and made a move. A pair of gleaming silver daggers and a gourd carved from coral roots flew out of Chifeng's treasure bag. A bronze mirror, a rope, and a talisman flew out of Irfan's treasure bag. A long ruler with strong aura and 6 or 7 treasures with strong aura flew out of the 3 phoenix treasure pouch. A green banana fan flew out of Jinxunu's treasure bag. After taking many treasures in his hands and playing with them, Su Junming only kept the ruler in the 3 phoenix treasure bag and the gourd carved from coral roots. This Xianguang ruler and Tianyi Zhenshui can be regarded as your apology. With a wave of his hand, the Tai Qingning fan and the remaining treasures were returned to their respective owners. As Master Lianshan's 4 demon refining treasures, the Tai Qingning fan is very powerful, so of course he wants it too. But Jinxunu is not a bad person, and he has some merits. He couldn't do anything to rob such people of their treasures. After all, he is now a founder of the sect, and he cannot do anything without a bottom line. Of course, there is no need to be polite to Chifeng and Dongxiu. After putting away a few treasures, he reached out and waved, and an ugly man with 3 eyes on his eyebrows and 6 fingers on his hands flew to him involuntarily. This person is Long Litsi. Being able to stay in the Xiun Palace without taking the devil's path means that one's character is naturally not bad. It is rare that one has good qualifications and can be classified into the Chongshan lineage. As for Zhao Shiniang and Huizhu, they are both nuns. The copies of Chongshan Academy belong to Taoism, not Buddhism, so of course they will not be included. For now, keep Long Litsi in the palace treasure tree and leave it to Chen Lin for arrangements. He shook his head slightly. I didn't think it before, but since becoming the ancestor of Chongshan lineage, he has become more and more fond of talents with outstanding qualifications and good character. Even if they cannot become direct descendants, they are still willing to collect them as disciples of the Chongshan lineage. Jinping and Long Litsi are the best examples. Without breaking the seal of Chu Feng and others, he took a step and walked towards the depths of Xiun Palace. He has not forgotten that the best treasure of Xiun Palace is under the golden jade pillar that suppresses Hin. He may not take away the treasures of Chifeng and Jing Sunu, but he will not be polite to things without owners. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 562. Xiun Palace is a famous immortal mansion in Shu Mountain. The spiritual energy in it is so strong that it is almost the strongest among all the cave mansions he has visited. Only his Chongshan residence, suppressed by the creation spirit pond, and the treasure trees in the palace gathering spiritual energy, can beat it. It's no wonder that the Imei sect is obsessed with it and wants to occupy it even if it is escorted by the 2 elders of Songshan. Along the way, the Xiun Palace, Pearl Palace, Shell Tower, and Jade Palace are extremely beautiful. All kinds of exotic flowers and plants are blooming with aura, and many kinds of rare treasures are shining with splendor. In terms of luxury alone, even the ancient dragon court he had seen in Liuzai world was far inferior. Pavilions, and coral waterside pavilions of various styles are connected and set off each other, making it very beautiful. Tianyi Golden Mother is not an immortal, but she must be a top garden art master in the secular world. After a moment of admiration, Su Junming walked into a waterside pavilion. In the entire Xiun Palace, the King Muqi here is the strongest. After urging Hu Tianshen to perform his magic, he easily passed through the restriction, and a pond the size of an acres of land appeared in front of him. The water in the pool is clear, rich in spiritual energy, and exudes a faint silver glow. Moon spirit water. Only in Xiun Palace, which is located above the eye of the sea and is rich in the spiritual energy of sunflower water, can such a huge amount of moon soul spiritual water be accumulated. Next to the pool, there is a small monument with the 3 characters King Shuotan written in regular script. Hundreds of kinds of spiritual herbs and elixirs are planted next to King Shuotan, all of which are precious things in the Shushan world. Especially next to the water pool, there is a small tree 2 feet high, green all over, with leaves like cattail fans, and a yaokeo plant half a person tall, full of palm-sized red flowers. The aura is the richest. Immortal root. Su Junming, who is proficient in King Mu Taoism and likes to collect various immortal roots and spiritual seeds, judged it in an instant. After a brief observation and combined with the various secret scriptures related to spiritual roots collected by the Wutai sect, I quickly understood. The small green tree is called 10,000 years intermittent. In the Shushan world, the most famous person with such immortal roots is the ancestor Xing Kong. It can not only reconnect the limbs that have been broken during practice, but can also regenerate the broken limbs. Very precious. That's why Jin Chan and Shi Sheng Makami fell into the empty island later. Ancestor Xiang Kong was also a smart man. Although he was slapped in the face by the Imei Jr. and seemed a little embarrassed, he still saved the foundation of Xiangkong Island. In comparison, the people in Xiun Palace were several levels behind. The little red flower is called red heart patch flower. Using this flower as the main material, and combining it with dozens of different elixirs, you can refine a kind of Gaiwan spiritual glue. Its greatest function is to help monks who have lost their physical body to quickly condense their soul into a Dharma body, saving them decades of painstaking sacrifices. Just like the blissful boy Li Jingxiu and Huo Wuhe. They are all monks who lost their physical body and then trained their soul into a legal body. The two immortal roots were of astonishing value, and Su Junming would certainly not be polite to them if they encountered them. Opening his palm, a medicine hoe that looked like it was carved from purple jade appeared in his palm. It was the only immortal weapon he got from San's Yahongsu immortal mansion. The immortal hoe that helps the world. With a rush of mana, the hoe spread out and touched the spiritual light, covering the intermittent moment of thousands of years. This fairy root spiritual seed that had been growing for thousands of years slowly flew out from the rock. Moreover, the root system is extremely complete, even the tiniest hair roots are extremely complete. Seeing it in his eyes, Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. It's indeed a good thing. I followed the same pattern and dug out the red heart patchwork flower next to it. Then he transplanted a few of the various spiritual roots and spiritual herbs around him, and after taking half a pond of Yusol spiritual water, he continued walking towards the back with satisfaction. The harem of Xiun Palace is particularly vast, dotted with dozens of hills planted with flowers, plants, and jade trees. There are thousands of colorful clouds above, with cranes and divine birds soaring, as if it is a cave-like Dharma realm hundreds of miles away. Surrounded by all the hills, 100-foot-high mountain looks like stars holding the moon. At the top of the mountain, an octagonal golden court blooms with golden light, which is extremely sacred. Su Junming stepped on the jade corridor connected to Jinting, climbed hundreds of steps, and came to Jinting. Tianyi Golden Mother is such a big gesture. The entire golden court is made by using the three true fires of heaven, earth, and man to collect Western true gold and cast it. He has been in this world for a long time, and he also knows that the Western true gold usually referred to in the Shushan cultivation world is 10,000 refined gold. Shushan world is a Zhongqian world, and the amount of gold is far beyond what China can match. Apart from anything else, this golden court, which is several acres in size, only consumes tens of millions of tons of gold, which is really a lot. Moreover, Su Junming vaguely remembered that Wu Li, a monk from Qingcheng Mountain, collected gold essence and forged 26 Huangjing swords in order to take away the golden whip clip that Zhu Mei had occupied. This is still the case for casual cultivators, but those from prestigious sects who practice flying swords consume more gold. Such extravagant behavior can only be done in the middle 1,000 worlds, but don't even think about it in the small 1,000 worlds. Walking into the golden court, there are 19 jade pillars distributed in the huge space. The largest one in the middle is 10 feet high and 2 feet in diameter. It shines with red light and has a shimmering brilliance and a hint of holiness. The 18 jade pillars around it are smaller, only about 1 foot in diameter, and only 9 feet high. The top of the golden court is not a common roof, but a layer of milky white mist, misty and mysterious. Su Junming stretched out his hand and pointed, and a space channel emerged from the white mist. He stepped in and his eyes flashed, and a room of about 100 square meters appeared in front of him. The room faces north and faces south, and there is a lotus altar. There is a small coral table next to the altar, with a copper stove on top of it, which should have been burning incense, but now it has long been extinguished. There is a dressing table in the southeast corner, with bronze mirrors, wooden combs and other items used by women neatly arranged. 2 portraits hang on the opposite wall. He looked like a handsome man in feathers, robes and stars. Su Junming recognized him at a glance as Master Lian Shan. Next to him is a beautiful woman wearing a purple dress, with long hair hanging down her shoulders, an oval face. If nothing else, this is Tianyi Golden Mother. The two used to be Taoist couples, so it's not surprising that Lianshan's portrait appears here. After Su Junming looked at it briefly, he walked to the bookshelf next to him. He casually took down a golden book from above. There are 4 words on the title page, 5 Elements Sutra, followed by the content, and in the middle there are notes left by Lianshan and Tianyi Golden Mother after their enlightenment. Although he had already read the scripture in Lianshan's memory, but now seeing the original version with annotations, the effect was naturally different. Although it is not as good as the Heshikishu, the 5 Elements scripture can be regarded as the secret guide to the immortals and is equally precious. Apart from it, most of the secret books on the nearby bookshelf are fragments, but all of them are treasure books that can directly lead to the immortal path. There are even more than a dozen fragmentary volumes describing the cultivation methods of Xianxian and Jingxian. Su Junming was happy. With these fragments, I will be able to understand the cultivation methods of the Xianxian and Jingxian sections of the Chongshan Yuanyang scripture in the future. Even if there is nothing else to gain from this visit to Ziyun Palace, it is still worth it. After carefully and sorting these fragments into his own library in Chongshan, Su Junming withdrew. Returned to the jade pillar below again. He raised his head and glanced at the pale golden main pillar in the middle, where the glow was shining brightly. This magical iron weighing 13,000 kilograms was originally the treasure of Daosi control. The entire body was made of innate spiritual iron. It was not only powerful, but also a spiritual weapon of merit. It was moved here by Tianyi Golden Mother to suppress the fire hole in the center of the earth. This is really a beggar's wishful thinking golden cudgel. Although it is a beggar's version, this sea-suppressing divine iron also contains 12 forbidden immortals, and is comparable to a low-grade innate spiritual treasure. Su Junming took 2 steps forward, swayed, and his body instantly expanded, turning into a 30-foot giant in the blink of an eye. If it weren't for the limited height in Jinting, he could continue to grow taller. This is not a magic spell, but a physical supernatural power that is naturally born after practicing the Panhuang Sutra to the fairyland and becoming a saint. He grabbed the golden pillar with his giant palm and exhaled loudly. With a bang, the entire golden court shook in an instant. Jinting is the center of the entire Ziyun Palace, and the main pillar is the center of Ziyun Palace. When the center moves, it affects the entire Ziyun Palace. The rumbling sound became stronger and stronger. As Su Junming slowly pulled up the golden pillar, some giant beasts seemed to wake up below. Boom! After a particularly loud thunder, the golden pillar was pulled out of the ground. The tyrannical flame energy surged out crazily like a high-pressure spray gun. The surrounding temperature increased rapidly, and the entire golden court quickly became unbearably hot. But Su Junming also has an immortal body after all, so this little temperature is nothing. In the original work, Zhu Mei, a short old man, could only hold up a golden pillar 2 feet, and he almost fell down from exhaustion after holding on for a stick of incense. In Su Junming's case, his face was neither red nor out of breath. 13,000 kilograms is far from the limit for him who has become an immortal in the flesh. Contract your body and look down. The cave is 2 feet in diameter and 1 to 8 feet deep. 19 strange-shaped treasures with rich auras are hung on the walls. In the center of the cave stood a red coral table, with a jade ball on the table that was 1 foot and 3 inches in diameter. Next to the jade ball is a plate of water incense, which is burning rapidly at the moment. Su Junming flew down. The magical weapons on the 4 walls were all spiritual treasures. They were extremely precious to Yuanshan monks, but they were of no use to him. But it is indeed good to give rewards to disciples. He stretched out his hand and all the treasures flew into his sleeves like swallows throwing themselves into the forest. Finally, there is the jade ball on the coral table. This is the most valuable thing among all treasures. In the original plot of Shushan, after the jade ball was taken away by Jin Chan, it was given to Zhu Mei and brought back to Yimei. What treasures were in it was not mentioned. Now Su Junming has the opportunity to unlock the secret with his own hands. He stepped forward and grabbed the jade ball, and sure enough it didn't move at all. There is a restriction left by Tianyi Golden Mother on it. No one can take the jade ball away except Yimei or her old friend from Xiun Palace. If it takes time to crack, of course it can be broken, but it will easily be directly suppressed by the Jinting Jade Pillar into the Earth Fire True Point. Even if you don't die, you will be sealed here forever. However, she did not expect that there would be a double cultivator like Su Junming, who has an extraordinary physical body and is not bad at magic. Actuating the Huishan Spirit Talisman, the space blade instantly cut off the forbidden connection between the jade ball and the coral table. There was no time to look further, because the water incense next to it had burned out, and the earth fire in the earth fire appointment lost its suppression and had already rushed up. He stretched out his hand and a flash of green light rushed into the ground fire like lightning. In an instant, a majestic and simple blue divine gate appeared in the earth fire true cave. The Bai's hangstone door slowly opened, and the turbulent underground fire seemed to have found its direction, and instantly flowed into the black void space behind the door. The stone gate grew bigger and bigger, and soon it became 3,000 feet. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 563. Chapter 552, Rebuilding the Dharmakaya. The 3,000-foot-long celestial gate is like an ancient sacred mountain, towering and powerful. The opened portal is like a gluttonous beast, devouring it. From ancient times to the present, the earthly fire that has accumulated infinite power is constantly being devoured by it. After the cultivation level is unsealed, Su Junming, who has restored the late-stage magic power of the celestial immortal, can make the celestial elephant gate burst out with even greater power. Therefore, this ancient volcano, which was even more powerful than the underground fire cave of Ur Island, was completely swallowed up in 3 days. If you want to restore the old outlook again, it will only be possible if you have tens of millions of years of accumulation. Su Junming, who once again accumulated a lot of merit, accepted Jinting and left Xiun Palace with Huo Wuhei. Although this place is good, Su Junming has no intention of staying under the sea to repair, so Xiun Palace is not a long-term residence. In addition, without the suppression of Jinting Jade Pillar, the spiritual energy here will definitely decline, making it not worth spending any more effort. And he didn't plan to have a head-on conflict with Yimei now. As for Sanfan, Dongxiu, and Jinxunu, Su Junming, who was so happy after accepting the treasure, was too lazy to suppress it anymore, leaving it to the people of Yimei to accumulate good deeds. He randomly found a cave in the sea and brought Huo Wuhei to Chongshan residence. The huge black dog came forward. The huge dog looked at Huo Wuhei and its nose shrugged. "Sir, who is this ugly boy?" "Ugly?" Huo Wuhei felt an unknown fire rising in his heart. If this was not the dojo of the patriarch, he would have beaten up this black dog in the nascent soul realm. He is Huo Wuhei, and he will be the third disciple of Zhuge Wolong as expected. Huo Wuxin? Although his name is not very good, this kid is full of fire, so he fits that old guy very well. When Zhuge Wolong became a disciple of the Dragon Emperor, he looked like an old man in his 50s or 60s. Now that he has advanced to Yuan Shen, he still hasn't changed much. This is the Black Wind. It is responsible for guarding the important places in the Chongshan Mountains. After a brief introduction, Su Junming took him into Chongshan residence. On the surface, this is just a 2-story bamboo building with a front and backyard. But after many years of practice, the magic of this bamboo tower has exceeded that of many low-grade immortal weapons. It not only contains infinite space, but also has a variety of magical applications. Pass through the front yard, walk into the main room, and follow the stairs to the 2nd floor. There are 4 or 5 different doorways on both sides of the spacious corridor. Su Junming pushed aside the second one on the left and went in. A space measuring more than 1,000 square meters appeared in front of him. The huge space was illuminated as brightly as day by a fireball the size of a water tank at the top. Under the bright light, 4 blue stone altars appeared in front of Huo Wuhe. One of the altars was empty. Above the remaining 3 altars, a ball of bright blue, translucent, water-like liquid was suspended. The liquid looked extremely viscous, undulating and erratic. Among these 3 masses of liquid, 2 men, 1 woman, and 3 children who looked to be only 4 or 5 years old were sitting cross-legged. Each of the 3 boys had 1 or 2 magic weapons floating around them. Next to the girl is a magical sword filled with colorful smoke, a handful of silver needles, and a silver net bag. This girl is Su Finiang, the wonderful immortal. When 2 factions fought at Tianzu Peak in Mount Wutai, Su Finiang's body was beheaded. Su Junming took away her soul and used the aura of creation to reshape her soul and achieve the innate Taoist body. Now a few years have passed, she has grown into the appearance of a girl, and her cultivation has returned to the golden elixir. As for the 3 magic weapons, the 5-color misty magic sword is the 5-poison immortal sword given by Patriarch Hunyuan. The silver needle is the invisible needle of the 6 thieves that Su Finiang practiced by herself, and the net pocket is the Shura net. The 2 treasures are magic weapons that Su Finiang practiced on her own. The 2 boys are naturally Yu Qinbin and Lin Yuan. They died fighting for the Wutai sect, and they were able to emerge from the mire without being stained, and they did not enter the devil's path. Su Junming also gave them innate blessings. 2 long swords floated beside them. In addition to the magic swords that they had practiced individually, Yu Qinbin was surrounded by the Qinghong sword that he had practiced, and the pure yang sword given by Su Junming's fake hand Hunyuan Patriarch. Next to Lin Yuan was the Suandu sword given by Patriarch Hunyuan, in addition to the 3 talents killing immortal sword that he had practiced. The Suandu sword was originally a demon-killing sword that had been practiced for hundreds of years by Patriarch Hunyuan. After becoming a disciple of Su Junming changed this demonic sword into a pure yang sword. That is the current Suandu sword. Ancestor, these 3 are. They are the disciples of your 7th uncle. Their bodies were cut off during the battle, and I used the innate spiritual energy to reshape their spirits. They have not yet been born. He turned around and said, next, you have to be like them. I will use the innate Taisu created spiritual energy to create an innate Tao body for you, and give you your soul to merge with it. With this foundation, coupled with the rich aura of this place, you will be able to return to the nascent soul realm within 10 years at most. At that time, I will send you to join your future master. After Huo Wuhe nodded, Grand Master, don't I want to be reincarnated and cultivate again? Reincarnation and rebuilding are just a test for you. If you don't have the perseverance and determination to reincarnate again, you will have no chance with me. Huo Wuhe suddenly felt enlightened. Just when he was about to speak, a string of bells suddenly rang in his ears. In an instant, his 3 souls and 7 souls were light and he lost his roots. Su Junming waved, and a string of colorful spiritual lights fell from the center of Huo Wuhe's eyebrows into his palm. He glanced briefly and shook his hand. The aura fell into the empty altar. With a movement in his heart, a wisp of innate spiritual energy created by Taisu flew over. After mixing with his soul, the billowing spiritual energy merged. Shreds of meat continued to grow around the soul, slowly turning into a ball of meat the size of a soybean. This mass of flesh is like an embryo, taking at least 9 months to grow into a human form. He looked at the Huo Wuhe body that had lost its breath next to him. He stretched out his hand and slapped it, and the magic body exploded instantly. Huo Wuhe's Bing Huo spiritual energy, which he had cultivated for thousands of years, was so rich that it was like a raging wave, scattering in all directions. But it was quickly taken back by Su Junming with great magic power. Gradually, a 3-foot-long crimson aura took shape in his hand. With this almost perfect red fire divine light, it will be much easier to practice the other 4 divine lights. With a casual throw, the divine light flew to Huo Wuhei's condensed embryo and started spinning like a swimming fish. Following closely behind him were the innate 1 Qi God demon crossbow and 9 crossbow arrows that he gave to Huo Wuhei. After doing this, he looked at Su Finiang and the other 3 who were still immersed in cultivation and had not yet awakened, and then withdrew. Come to the backyard and go straight to the spiritual island in the middle of the creation spirit pond. From the outside, the spiritual island, which was only the size of an acre of land, was now thousands of miles in size after Su Junming used the Huishan method to open it up. There are 2 types of innate spiritual roots planted inside. 3-color flat peach and innate white plum. The former is Kunlun, which Ren Wuji obtained from the Chinese world. It was originally a dead wood pile, but was revived by the spiritual energy created by Su Junming. Now 2 months later, it has grown into a 3-foot-tall, lush peach tree under the abundant spiritual energy. However, there are still no signs of flowering. The congenital white plum blossoms come from the ancient dragon garden in Liuzai world. Now the white plum blossoms are blooming all over the branches, full of spiritual energy, bright and beautiful. Except for the extremely precious innate spiritual roots. There are 6 kinds of immortals on Spirit Island. Guzi Gong, colorful brocade, 2 pine trees. Kaibao Linghu Lingan. 2 morning dew flowers. A Taiyang coal jade spirit flower. 11 red flame bamboos. If we also count the acquired green lotus, golden Bodhi lotus, and albizia lotus blooming in the pool next to it, as well as the newly acquired 10,000-year intermittent and red heart patchwork flowers. Su Junming, who has experienced 3 worlds and practiced for more than 200 years, has accumulated 11 kinds of immortal roots. After checking the growth of various immortal root spiritual seeds, Su Junming stamped his foot. Soon, a purple figure emerged from the ground. The person who came was about 5 feet tall, wearing a purple gourd, with 2 bare arms, a yellow gourd hanging on his left waist, a medicine hoe hanging on his right waist, and a magic sword stuck on his back. Zizi meets the master. Su Junming slapped the gourd on his waist, and the 10,000 years intermittent and red heart patching flowers obtained from Ziyun Palace, as well as hundreds of precious spiritual roots and spiritual herbs, flew out. Plant these, especially the 2 fairy roots, and you must cultivate them carefully. Yes. Zizi nodded, used the yellow-skinned gourd at her waist to collect all the elixirs, and then disappeared into the ground. The innate elves led by Zizi are best at cultivating spiritual roots and elixirs, and they are more suitable than Su Junming to take care of these spiritual roots. After taking a look at the nearby Taiyang coal jade spirit flowers, which were already blooming like red roses, Su Junming exited the spirit island with satisfaction. I sat down on a futon in the pavilion next to me and began to clean up the harvest. The books are divided into categories and stored in the scripture collection pavilion. Unused spiritual treasures are put into the treasure room. The materials used in the Jinting are extraordinary, and the 18 jade pillars are also immortal treasures. The most important main pillar is the treasure of Dao's Jinhai. With a wave of his right hand, a coral table 1 foot long and 7 feet wide appeared in front of him. This coral table can withstand the real fire in the center of the earth, so it is certainly extraordinary. Reaching out and touching it, Su Junming instantly felt the rich fire spirit contained in it. The heavenly golden mother is so cleverly conceived. This coral was originally a 10,000-year-old fire coral. The whole plant was trained by Tianyi Golden Mother to become the desk in front of me, and then it was absorbed in the true fire of the center of the earth for thousands of years in the true cave of the center of the earth. Now this fire coral has become a top material for refining fire attribute artifacts. With Su Junming's level of weapon refining, he can easily make a low-grade immortal weapon. If it is more refined, a mid-grade immortal weapon is not impossible. In the original story of Shushan, Jin Chen originally planned to take away the coral table, but later saw that the water incense burned out and ran out of time, so he had to give up regretfully. Obviously, his eyes, which had been licked by the Ganodermalucidum doll, also saw that this was a treasure. However, in comparison, Su Junming had more expectations for the jade ball originally placed on the coral table. Having read the original work, he knew that there were 2 Taoist books and several treasures that Imei did not want to give up. The short old man Zhu Mei went to Xiun Palace in person, most of the purpose was for it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 564. This is a large jade ball with a diameter of more than 1 foot. It is filled with smoke and mist, and seems to contain endless secrets. Even without the bronze mirror, Su Junming could clearly sense the complex restrictions in the jade ball. After thinking for a moment, he did not use the Huishan Dao method to break the restriction, but slowly began to understand. About half an hour later, his eyes suddenly opened, his hands flew as fast as wheels, and the handprints turned into auras and flew into the jade ball. The latter gradually began to bloom with aura, and the aura became stronger and stronger, and suddenly the brilliance was dazzling, like the sun and the moon in the sky. Several rays of spiritual light flew out of the jade ball like lightning. The brilliance of the jade ball gradually dimmed, and slowly turned into a ball of clear and transparent Tianyi Zhen water. Su Junming opened his palms, and a gourd carved with coral roots appeared in his palms. He opened the lid and took in the Tianyi Zhen water. Tianyi true water is fairy water, containing powerful innate Taishi water spiritual energy. Every drop has the ability to turn into rivers and lakes. Of course, refining it is also extremely time-consuming. Even in a place like Xiun Palace where the water element aura is rich, it may take thousands of years of hard work to get the ball just now. Tianyi Golden Mother is also very clever. If you are not careful, the sudden strong light just now is enough to blind any monk in the fairyland. Even if it is only for a moment, it is enough to make the things hidden inside fly away. It's a pity that this is my Chongshan residence. Not to mention a few immortal artifacts that no one is in charge of. Even if Tianyujan's mother comes, I can't even think of escaping. He stretched out his hand and several rays of spiritual light slowly fell into his hand. The moment the light dissipated, the 5 treasures gradually became clear. First is a jade box. There is no seal on it. After opening it, there is a pair of ancient tortoise shells and a golden book. The golden book was at the top, so Su Junming picked it up first. Take a look at the title page. Jellyfish Jade Badge. This is a Taoist book that explains the water-moving Taoism, along with cultivation methods and more than a dozen powerful water methods. The content is more advanced than all the water techniques that Su Junming has seen before, and even exceeds the water techniques in the Hesha Kishu. This is understandable. After all, the Hesha Kishu follows the 5 elements path, and this Jellyfish Jade chapter specializes in water methods, so it will naturally be different. Moreover, this is also a true evangelical book that reaches directly to the Golden Immortal. It seems that this is the fundamental secret of Tianyi Jellyfish, and it is also the secret that she left to Qi Lingyun, Zhou Qingyun, and Qin Ziling's descendants. Su Junming flipped through it briefly. Although he did not practice this Jellyfish Jade Seal, the Taoist teachings in it could supplement the Hesha Kishu. The explanation of the waterway recorded on it could also enhance the Taoist practice of the waterway. Put down the jellyfish metal and pick up the tortoise shell. This tortoise shell is extremely thick and solid, with obvious cutting marks on its edges, making it obviously a scrap. Moreover, the atmosphere is ancient and simple, with a hint of confusion. It has been a long time since I wanted to inherit it. On the body of the tortoise shell, there are dense tadpole inscriptions engraved on it. This kind of tadpole script is a kind of ancient divine script. Su Junming likes to read books, and with the help of bronze mirrors, he can recognize this kind of script. After reading it carefully, Su Junming showed a hint of joy on his face. The back of this tortoise shell records a powerful sealing technique called calling the name of the god. As the name suggests, just calling the other person's name can seal the person. But if you want to use this seal, you can't be too far away from the target. And the stronger the opponent is, the shorter the sealing time will be. If his strength is not as good as his own, he can be sealed forever after calling. Unless the person who cast the seal dies, or someone with stronger cultivation can remove the seal for him. Otherwise, they will be sealed until death. In addition, this calling the name of the gods can also be attached to a magic weapon or name. Once the seal is applied, anyone who wants to speak this name will be instantly sealed. The seal here is not the person who wants to speak, but the magic weapon or the memory of the name that imposes the seal. For example, if Su Junming imposes a seal on the bronze mirror. In the future, when his disciples mention this treasure to outsiders, all memories about the bronze mirror will be instantly sealed. Unless someone can surpass him in the realm of sealing, or someone with a cultivation level higher than him takes action, the seal cannot be broken. With this calling the name of the gods, some secrets are no longer afraid of being exposed. Now that he has reached the realm of true immortal in the sealing path, there are almost no people in the Shushan world who can surpass him in the sealing path. In addition to the calling the name of the gods on the back of the tortoise shell, a treasure's sacrificial training method is recorded on the inside. This baby's name is Water Fire Peak. The tortoise shell did not record the grade of this water and fire peak. It only said that it contained the magical function of Kanli, concealed the 5 elements, 6 stars and 7 stars, and had 18 mysterious applications. It can not only protect the body and eliminate enemies, but also contain changes in the universe, which is extremely magical. Moreover, it is not easy to practice the water and fire peak. At the beginning, one needs water and 1 fire, 2 innate spiritual materials, to be trained into the water-attributed Lingqi peak and the fire-attributed red cloud peak. Then use the Liangyi divine forbidden and practice together to achieve success. Lingqi peak. Su Junming touched his chin. I wonder if the mountain-holding treasure of Yimei was made based on this treasure. Shaking his head, this can only be confirmed after seeing the Lingqi peak with his own eyes. However, he immediately remembered the coral table located under the jade pillars of the golden court and hanging above the fire cave in the center of the earth. Yimei Lingqi peak is made of 10,000 years of green coral. The coral table itself is also a 10,000-year-old fire coral, which has absorbed thousands of years of true fire from the center of the earth. It perfectly fits the training conditions of Red Cloud Peak. Now that we have all the materials, we might as well practice some in the future. Although it is only the Red Cloud Peak, half of the Lingqi peak is missing, and it is impossible to develop the Water Fire Peak, which is said to be more than 10 times more powerful than a single spiritual peak. Su Junming still wants to try it. Keep the tortoise shell carefully. Whether it was the jellyfish jade seal, or the calling the name of God and water and fire peak sacrificial training methods, Su Junming felt that he had gained a lot. In addition to the martial arts treasures, there are 3 magic weapons and a bottle of elixir beside it. The first was a blue pennant 2 feet high and 1 foot 9 inches long. The flags are embroidered with cloud patterns, simple and elegant. With a slight shake, there is the sound of rolling waves. At the bottom of the flagpole, there is an inscription with 5 characters etched on it. Jellyfish Swanyan flag. This is a 3-level immortal forbidden low-grade water and Xianyin, an immortal weapon with 2 attributes, capable of both offense and defense. The second item is a magic sword made entirely of water. Although the dark blue sword body is only 3 fingers wide and 2 feet and 3 inches long, water is flowing inside, as if it contains endless water vapor. Under the calyx, there is also a line of small words. Kanglang Water Sword. It is also the 3 immortal forbidden realm. The last piece is a dark blue palace dress with a rusty phoenix pattern and a silk ribbon, which is extremely gorgeous. Su Junming saw a line of small words on the inside of the cuffs. Water Cloud Immortal Clothes. Compared with the first two, the last Shuiyun Immortal Clothes is a defensive magic weapon with only 2 levels of Immortal Forbidden. The last elixir is called 3UN Soul Pill. There are a total of 12 pills in it, which are healing elixirs that condense the soul and get rid of evil spirits. This kind of elixir is suitable for those monks who have gone crazy and have their souls damaged. Too bad it doesn't do much for me. At the beginning, he forcibly separated the body of the swallowing thief soul and suffered soul damage. Now, 100 years have passed, and although it is no longer serious, it has not been completely repaired. Although the Sanyuan soul reinforcing pill has the effect of guarding the soul and strengthening the soul, it is more about removing demonic disturbances rather than repairing the soul. Su Junming didn't want to waste it, so he accepted it. His soul injury will be repaired in a while, so there is no need to waste this precious elixir. After checking the treasures, they were put into the treasure house one by one. He has no use for these things, so he will probably reward them to his disciples in the future. He clapped his hands and turned around and walked towards Tiangong Hall. As soon as I walked in, a scalding heat enveloped me instantly. In the center of the majestic Tiangong Hall, the 3-foot-high Tiangong divine furnace was burning with flames. A golden lotus flower was tightly wrapped in the hot innate spiritual fire. Inside the lotus is a ball of rich golden liquid. This was made by using the 2 golden swords he had received from Wu Hua and Rong Dun. Su Junming waved his hand, and Jin Ting received from Xiun Palace flew in. In addition to the main pillar of Dao Zhenhai, the remaining 18 jade pillars were thrown into another lotus furnace. Half a year later, Su Junming, who was sitting cross-legged in front of the Tiangong divine furnace, suddenly opened his eyes. With his hands flying, seals flew into the divine furnace of Tiangong. Rise. 2 lotus flowers are rising slowly. The tightly closed lotus leaves opened layer by layer, and the dazzling auspicious colors popped out instantly like light and electricity. When the lotus leaves were completely opened, 2 balls of light the size of wash basins appeared in front of them. One is made of sky blue, the other is made of light gold. The azure light group contained a jade pillar embossed with divine inscriptions. In the pale golden light group is a spear with a tiger's head swallowing its mouth. Carrying 2 newly refined treasures, Su Junming left Chongshan residence in an instant, put away the palace treasure tree, and soared into the sky. The sea water on both sides separated on its own, and soon reached 1,000 feet in the sky. Raise it casually. The ball of light, which was originally only the size of a wash basin, grew in the wind, and instantly turned into a giant ball thousands of feet tall. A spear and a pillar are as big as a giant mountain, and the auspicious colors shine for thousands of miles. In an instant, the wind, clouds and lightning rolled, and the black calamity clouds came roaring like galloping horses. In just a few moments, thousands of miles away were covered by clouds of calamity. Boom! The dazzling thunder struck down, and 2 3-foot-thick thunder struck down towards the 2 treasures like giant knives in the hands of the gods. In an instant, the sky was filled with thunder and fire, and the sound was extremely powerful. Such a big movement naturally alarmed the surrounding monks within thousands of miles. Roads of light came flying towards them, and soon nearly 100 monks gathered. Most of them were in the nascent soul realm, and there were only 6 or 7 nascent souls. The ones with the highest cultivation level are a middle-aged man wearing a white cloak who is described as majestic, and a young woman wearing a white dress with a beautiful face. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 565. Look at the mighty thunder not far away, and the jade pillars and golden spears as big as giant mountains surrounded by the thunder. With such powerful thunder and calamity fire, how come those 2 sect treasures are also top-notch immortal weapons from Zifu? The woman in white exclaimed. The middle-aged man in a white cloak nodded in agreement. Looking at the scale of thunder, it is not just an ordinary Zifu immortal weapon, it should be at least a precious treasure above the 4 immortal forbidden levels. The woman in white glanced at him. The other person's cultivation level was even higher than hers, and her eyesight was stronger. This judgment was still convincing. I just don't know who made these 2 immortal weapons. Glancing at the woman's questioning eyes, the middle-aged man looked at her from a distance. He saw a tall figure wearing a green robe in the air with his hands behind his back and shook his head slightly. Although this place is only 1,000 miles away from my copper coconut island, I really don't know this person. The woman frowned slightly. Given the other person's identity, she would definitely not lie. So, this senior should have traveled here in the clouds. The middle-aged man nodded in agreement. The mighty thunder gradually died out, and a 10-foot-thick innate aura of Taishi's creation poured into the 2 treasures. Visible to the naked eye, the 2's already strong auras quickly increased. Su Junming stretched out his hand. On the 1,000-foot jade pillar, the pen moves like a dragon and a snake, and 4 large golden characters emerge. The divine pillar of fixed earth. The golden gun next to it also had 2 large golden characters under its head. Pan Tuo. He stretched out his hand and the 2 treasures instantly shrank and flew into his palms. The 1-foot-tall divine pillar that fixed the ground flew behind him, and streams of spiritual light shone down, sealing the entire body for 10 feet. This is a middle-grade immortal weapon that he made by combining 18 golden jade pillars and supplemented by the laws of sealing. Pan Tuo's divine spear is about 2 feet long, with a sharp and slender head that is 2 feet and 3 inches long. The deep blood groove shines with cold light. With the gun in his hand and clearly wearing a Taoist robe, Su Junming's body revealed the evil aura of a man who would fight for the rest of his life. After dancing a few guns and flowers casually, Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. This Pan Tuo divine spear is a weapon forged from 2 pieces of Yuan Yang spiritual iron, plus the golden core tempered by Tianyi Golden Mother with the true fire of the 3 talents of heaven, earth, and man, supplemented by the Golden Avenue. There are 5 immortal forbidden rules, which are even better than the Dingdi divine pillar. Of course, the power of Pan Tuo's divine spear is still far behind that of Dao Si suppressing divine iron, but Su Junming is not used to using a stick. The golden gun you trained yourself is the most suitable. After the 2 new immortal weapons survived the catastrophe, Su Junming turned his eyes and looked at the people around him. This time, no one turned their backs and came to snatch his treasure. I'm a heavenly chi on Tongyi Island, and I've met fellow Taoist. Seeing that the catastrophe had passed, the middle-aged man wearing a white cloak who had been watching from a distance quickly flew over. Ye Ben, the owner of Little Antarctic Admiralty Island, has met fellow Taoist. The woman in white also flew over. Among all the people present, the 2 of them were the most cultivated. Looking at them taking the lead, the Yuan Shen and Yuanying monks from the periphery also flew over to greet them one by one. Master Tianqi of Tongyi Island and Ye Ben, the owner of Little Antarctic Admiralty Island, are both frequently mentioned acquaintances in the world of Shushan. After looking at them, Su Junming waved and put away the 2 newly refined immortal weapons, then raised his hand and saluted. Su Junming, a poor Taoist, has met 2 fellow Taoists. Master Tianqi and Ye Ben did not recognize that he was the Chongshan True Lord who once defeated Xenophonta in Biang Mountain. Compared with the Taoist name, too few people know the name Su Junming. Congratulations to fellow Taoist for cultivating 2 such powerful Zifu immortal weapons. Judging from the scale of the tribulation thunder just now, it has already reached the middle level. Then he praised, ever since Senior Ai Genzi ascended to the heavenly palace 800 years ago, the cultivation of it's been a long time since there's been an weapon refiner in the world who can practice Zifu's immortal weapons on his own. After saying that, he looked at Su Junming with a bit more fiery eyes. No matter which world you are in, there are very few people who can practice high-grade magic weapons. After all, if you want to achieve success in the art of weapon refining, You not only need a high level of understanding, but also need a long time to accumulate experience. Countless materials are consumed in the process, and unless there is a strong support behind it, it will be difficult to achieve anything. Therefore, except for the immortal weapons left over from ancient times or given by the ancestors of the upper world, few of the immortal weapons in the Shushan world were practiced by oneself. Even if there is, it is the kind of fairy weapon that is obviously made of excellent materials, but can only exert its 7 levels of power. It's like filling a tank with water, the less you fill it, the lower the risk of it overflowing. Therefore, when Su Junming gets many immortal weapons, he will practice them again in order to tap out the potential of the materials. That is to say, he has a profound skill in refining weapons and only dares to do so with the help of bronze mirror. Ye Ben next to him was also a smart man. When he heard this, his eyes lit up and he nodded in agreement. Fellow Taoist Su, not far ahead is my copper coconut island. If you don't mind, please go to the island to talk about it. Su Junming smiled faintly. He had been practicing for more than 200 years. With his experience and wisdom, he knew Master Tianke's plan without guessing. However, he was somewhat curious about Copper Coconut Island, so he did not refuse. In that case, there's trouble over there. Haha, you are so polite, fellow Taoist Su. It is my Bronze Coconut Island's blessing that you are here with Jade Toes. Master Tianqi became happy immediately. Please. Please. Under the leadership of Tianke, Su Junming flew southeast. Ye Ben quickly followed, and Taoist Tianke didn't chase her away, but the same could not be said for the others. Compared with Master Tianke's earthly immortal lord and Ye Ben Yuanshen's near-perfect cultivation, they were all far behind. In the Shushan world, cultivation is the basis for dividing circles. Except for the generous Master Yuxiu, almost no one will treat the lower generation equally. After flying forward for only a moment, a dark shadow appeared faintly between the sea and the sky, floating in the rough waves. As the distance got closer, the area of the island became larger and larger. Suddenly, the heads of many large and small whales protruded from the waves on the side of the island. Loud whale calls sounded, and white and thick water columns shot up into the sky like sharp arrows. The coconut groves on the shore of the island are towering, lush, and picturesque. Suddenly, a ray of white light flew towards the 3 people. The light stopped for a moment, and a tall, handsome young man in white bowed to greet them. Disciple Lu He respectfully welcomes his master back to the island. Fellow Taoist Su, this son is my eldest disciple. He has been with me for 600 years and is very effective. After finishing his words, Master Tianke turned his head. Here, why don't you come and pay homage to Senior Su? Lu He is the founding disciple of Master Tianke when he first entered Taoism. He has been raising him since he was 3 years old. He is both his teacher and his father, and he has a deep relationship with him. Lu He meets Senior Su. Su Junming nodded slightly. Fellow Taoist, this disciple has learned the true teachings deeply and has a solid foundation. He has the hope of becoming an immortal in the future and can inherit the Taoist tradition of fellow Taoist. Haha, fellow Taoist Su is overpraised. It's still early for him to become an immortal. Although he said this, Tianke Taoist's face was filled with joy. This is like the joy that a parent feels from inside after hearing someone else praise his or her child. Su Junming smiled faintly. Lu He had already reached the late stage of Yuan Shen. As long as he didn't rush for success, it would not be difficult to become an immortal. He opened his palms and a porcelain bottle flew over. There are 3 9 yellow pills that I have practiced in this place. They are the most beneficial to Qi. I will give them to you today. Lu He thanked him and took it respectfully. I didn't think anything of it at first, but then I secretly pulled out the plug and took a sniff. My eyes instantly brightened and I knew it was something good. As for Ye Ben who was following behind, she is half a generation older than Lu He, and this is not the first time the two have met, so calling her fellow Taoist is enough. After the three of them crossed the coconut grove, they suddenly saw a flower in front of their eyes. In the middle of the coconut grove, which was tens of feet high, there was a steep peak as high as 10,000 feet. Even after being separated by dozens of miles, Su Junming could clearly sense the energy of Taiyuanmei emanating from it. According to the Shushan world, this magnetic peak was made by Master Tianke using the black mud of the swamp on the island and combining it with the same magnetic veins that connect to the true magnetic energy of the North Pole. Except for a few rare treasures and magic weapons, all metals will be sucked away if you get close to them. However, at this moment, the Taiyuankai in the magnetic peak was sealed by the forbidden method, and it could not feel much power. In addition to the Wanzang magnetic peak, there are several hills around, with gorgeous palaces and pavilions on them, and rainbow cloud bridges connecting each other. Although it is not as good as the Zigongbaik of Xiun Palace, there are sacred scenes everywhere, but it is also unique and mysterious. It can be called Fairy Island. Seeing the three people coming, young men and women wearing blue and white half-arms and cloud shoulders stood respectfully on both sides. They are all disciples of Tongyi Island, but compared to Lu Hele, their cultivation levels are much lower. Master Tianke accepts disciples only based on predestined relationships and does not ask about qualifications or character. Therefore, the cultivation of these disciples is uneven, and the weakest one cannot even obtain the golden elixir. There are really no outstanding people. Therefore, Master Tianke did not introduce it to Su Junming, and the group quickly stepped on the cloud bridge and arrived at a gorgeous fairy palace hall. As the landlord, Master Tianke sat at the top, with Lu He standing behind him. Su Junming sat in the guest seat on the left, and Ye Bin sat in the guest seat on the right. Soon several female disciples from Tongyi Island offered fragrant tea. To Taoist friends, this is the spiritual tea cultivated by our Tongyi Island. Please have a taste. Su Junming picked it up and took a sip, then nodded slightly. It's really good. Fellow Taoist Su likes it, so I'll give you some. Thank you very much. To be fair, Tiankeshang is worthy of being an earth immortal who has successfully practiced GMO Taoism. Although the spiritual tea he cultivates is not as good as the several spiritual seeds he planted on Creation Spirit Island, it is still rich in spiritual energy and rich in aroma. Tea. Master Tianke smiled slightly and said, I wonder where Su Daiuxian Township is and why he came back to the East China Sea. A few years ago, Pandao opened an academy in the city of Chang'an in the Central Plains to teach scriptures and teach disciples. When I have nothing to do on weekdays, I go out and walk around to see if I can find one or two of the best disciples of the Tao. I see. But if fellow Taoist disciples are planning to become disciples, the Middle Earth has a prosperous population, outstanding people, and quite qualified people. Although there are cultivators overseas, they are still inferior. Thank you, fellow Taoist Heavenly Chi, for telling me. Recruiting disciples is just one of the reasons for being a poor Taoist. Traveling around the world is also the purpose. Tianke nodded, organized his speech and said, Fellow Taoist, what do you think of the coconut trees on my island? 1,000-year-old spirit wood, the energy of armor wood is extremely rich. If you practice it a little, it will be a good magic weapon. If you practice it carefully, it can also be a spiritual treasure. Fellow Taoist, your eyes are as bright as lightning. Su Junming smiled lightly. Fellow Taoist idiot, if you have something to say, you might as well say it. Why do we, as practitioners, have to learn from the idioms of mortals in the world? Tianke showed a trace of embarrassment on his face and nodded quickly. What fellow Taoist said is true, it's me, Meng Lang. There is a saying that care leads to caring. Seeing that the plan that he had planned for a long time was possible to be realized, even Master Tianke's earthly immortal state of mind felt a little unstable for a while. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 566. Chapter 555, Master Tianke. After organizing his words, Taoist Tianke said, "You must have seen the 10,000-foot high peak outside, right?" Su Junming smiled and nodded. "My heavenly idiot Taoist friend, the magnetic peak of Tongyi Island is infinitely powerful and famous at home and abroad. It is natural for poor Taoists to understand." "Fellow Taoist, you are exaggerating." After a slight pause, he said, 400 years ago, I discovered this magnetic vein running directly to the North Pole in the swamp of Copper Coconut Island. After hundreds of years, this magnetic peak finally reached its current size. However, although this magnetic peak is strong, its power is greatly reduced due to its inability to move. Therefore, I have always planned to train it into a spiritual treasure. It's just that there are very few weapon refiners in the cultivation world who can truly cultivate immortal weapons, so they have never been able to succeed. It wasn't until I met fellow Taoist today that I was overjoyed and rashly asked my fellow Taoist to come to the island. I hope fellow Taoist monks can help me make this treasure. I would be very grateful." After secretly saying sure enough. "Fellow heavenly crazy Taoist, you and I are meeting for the first time today, and you don't know my true identity, so you dare to hand over the grand treasure of your Copper Coconut Island to me for ritual training." Tian Kai's expression froze. He originally planned to keep the person here first, and then investigate the good and evil nature of Master Su later. After all, refining treasures is not a matter of a day or two. He has enough time to do it. In contrast, if this person were to leave, it would not be easy to find him if the cultivation world is so vast. Of course, if that's the plan, you definitely can't say that. After thinking for a moment, Tianke showed a smile on his face. "Now that I have mastered the art of mutual recognition, although I have just met Taoist fellow Su for the first time today, I see that fellow Taoist Su has a firm and calm gaze, and is righteous but not evil. He must be a righteous knight with a firm mind and hate evil as much as hatred. In addition, fellow Taoist, the heaven is full, the earth pavilion is round, and the atrium is straight. If you are a demon, you will never have such an appearance." Su Junming smiled. The Tianke Taoist's expression had already told him that the so-called art of identifying people was just random nonsense. However, he didn't want to expose it. As long as the materials were ready, refining treasure was not a difficult task for him, but the prerequisite was that the rewards were in place. After all, this is the first time for everyone to meet, and they are not close friends. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. "Fellow Taoist heavenly crazy, your tea is really good, sweet, and delicious, leaving a fragrance on your lips and teeth, tisk tisk." Tianke Taoist frowned slightly, unsure whether he would agree or refuse. But Ye Bin, who was sitting opposite and had been watching, saw the clues. "Although the tea is good, it is nothing compared to the reward given by fellow Taoist heavenly Qi after my predecessor succeeded in refining the treasure." This sentence awakened Taoist Tianke, who suddenly felt enlightened and said quickly, "Fellow Taoist Su, if this treasure is made, I would like to hand over 3 6,000-year-old copper coconut sacred trees to you. The 6,000-year-old copper coconut sacred tree can be used to cultivate high-grade spiritual treasures." Tianke Taoist took out 3 of them at once, which was considered to have produced some blood. However, although the things were good, Su Junming didn't take them seriously. This is not what he wants. And compared to his efforts, Taoist Tianke's rewards were too little. Putting down the teacup, Su Junming stood up. "Thank you for the hospitality, fellow Taoist Tianke. The tea is good. If nothing happens, I will leave." The crazy Taoist is not a fool, so he can naturally see that people don't care about his 6,000-year-old copper coconut tree. Looking at the figure turning away, he gritted his teeth. Etc. After quickly stopping Su Junming. "Fellow Taoist Su, there is another sacred tree of 10,000 years of copper coconut. If you succeed in refining the treasure, the sacred tree will be handed over to you. Turning around slowly, Su Junming had a faint smile on his face. How do you plan to practice on that sacred peak, fellow Taoist? Upon hearing this, Taoist Tianke breathed a sigh of relief. But my heart ached extremely. He has been guarding the copper coconut island for nearly 1,000 years, but he has only cultivated 3 branches. I used one of the natal spiritual treasures 99 mouth divine wood swords to refine, but I kept the remaining 2 in my hand, reluctant to use them. If there was not a period of time before the immortals would kill him, he wanted to train the magnetic peak into a protective treasure. If he could survive the disaster in the future, he would never be willing to hand over such a treasure. If you don't mind it, fellow Taoist Su, you might as well stay on my copper coconut island now, and you and I can have a detailed discussion on how to practice this magnetic peak. Su Junming nodded. Turned. You seem to know me. Ye Ben quickly stood up and bowed to salute. My eyes were blind before, so I felt that the senior was somewhat familiar, but I didn't recognize him. Later, I thought about it and saw the senior dressed up before I remembered it. Su Junming suddenly understood. No wonder Ye Ben looked at him calmly at first, but after arriving at Copper Ye Island, he suddenly felt more respect. Ye Ben, meet Senior Chongshan. No need to be polite, just get up. Seeing this scene, Master Tianke quickly sent a message with his spiritual consciousness. Fellow Taoist Ye, do you know this person? I don't know him, but I heard it from someone. This person is the true monarch of Chongshan who won the battle with the god Nefenchuo in Biang Mountain for 3 days and 3 nights a few years ago. Master Tianke suddenly understood, and his eyes towards Su Junming became respectful. God Nefenchuo was 1 generation higher than him, and when it came to cultivation, he was far behind him. Chongshan true Lord Su Junming can defeat Fenchuo, so naturally he can easily wipe out his copper coconut island. Fortunately, I was not rude just now. It turns out that Senior Chongshan is here in person, and Junior Tianke is here to pay his respects. Master Tianke held the disciple ceremony, took 2 steps forward and said respectfully. There is no need to be polite. Since I promised to help you refine the treasure, I will not go back on my words. However, after success, I must not miss out on the 10,000-year-old sacred coconut tree. Yes, Tianke will never dare to neglect. After nodding slightly, he looked at Ye Ben. You came with me, but you also want to refine treasures. After shaking his head, back to Senior, I have a magic weapon passed down from my master, which is enough. The reason why I followed him is just because there has not been a master of weapon refining in the practice world for a long time, and I want to get to know him. I just didn't expect that compared to the skill of refining weapons, the senior's cultivation is truly amazing. Su Junming smiled slightly and said, I heard that you are good friends with Xieshan from Kinshifan Che Yinziazu, the top of Wuyi Mountain. Ye Ben was stunned for a moment, not expecting that he would ask about Xieshan. After a moment of hesitation, he nodded. Junior and Xieshan are close friends of the president. Does he have 2 daughters on his knees? Returning to my predecessors, I have never had a Taoist companion in Xie Mountain. In the hundreds of years since I became a Taoist, I have rarely left Wuyi Mountain and I have no heirs. Su Junming's eyes flashed and he didn't ask any more questions. Obviously, Xie Miao and Xie Lin, the 2 daughters of Xiandu who are now shining brightly in Shushan, have not been adopted by him yet. In the entire Shushan world, the qualifications of the 2 girls in Xiandu are top-notch. Even Li Yingxiang just has better luck than the 2 of them. If there is a chance, such a good seedling will of course be brought under the Chongshan lineage. 3 days later, Su Junming stood high in the sky at the top of the magnetic peak. Next to him is Master Tianke, and on the right is his 6th disciple Chen Lin. Now he still has the appearance of an 89-year-old boy. No one would have thought that this was the Taiyuan patriarch who led the Wutai sect a few years ago and caused heavy losses to Ime. As for Ye Bin, the owner of Admiralty Island, he left that day. Senior, I have asked my disciples to set up a large formation according to your instructions. Now we can take action, Master Tianke said respectfully. Ever since he learned that Su Junming was the famous true Lord Chongshan in the spiritual world, his attitude became several times more respectful than before. Su Junming nodded slightly. Chen Lin. The disciple is here. You come to the main formation. After Chen Lin responded respectfully, he stepped forward to the stage. Let's start. After Master Tianke nodded, he clapped his hand, and an emerald light flashed across the sky like a shooting star. There are nearly 100 disciples on the bronze coconut island on the ground, each holding a wooden sign made from the sacred copper coconut wood, and standing in the 108 directions of Tiangang and Disha. Among all the disciples, Lu He is the leader. Seeing the green meteor in the sky, he was shocked and shouted, Master's signal has been sent, brothers, activate the 10,000 wood formation. Yes, senior brother. All the disciples responded loudly. At the same time, he shook the wooden sign in his hand, and in an instant, green light shot up into the sky, as if the sacred copper coconut trees were standing in the sky. Endless spiritual energy was inhaled and transformed into Aoki spiritual energy through the formation. In just a moment, the entire magnetic peak was enveloped in a cloud of green wood. Seeing this scene, Chen Lin took a deep breath. Having just recovered to the realm of Yuan Shen, he has already practiced the great spell above, Pure Yang True Fire according to the Chunyang scripture. With both hands forming sword fingers, he silently summoned his magic power, opened his mouth and sprayed out, and a stream of pale golden real fire flew straight towards the magnetic peak like a sharp arrow. The 5 elements are in conflict, and wood creates fire. When the pure yang true fire collided with the chi of King Mu, thunder from the sky instantly stirred up the earthly fire, turning into flames all over the sky. The hot pure yang true fire is masculine and has no surging force. The towering magnetic peak was instantly enveloped in flames. The 5 elements are in conflict, and fire is in conflict with metal. The chi of Taiyuan Si is essentially a kind of spiritual chi composed of gold and earth, which is also restrained by flames. That's why in the original book of Shushan, Master Tianke was so anxious after Master Yuxiu of Dafang used blindness to light up the magnetic peak. Regardless of punishing Yiding Yizhen, he hurriedly went to put out the fire, but was teased and started to have a grudge with Yishiu. The latter almost penetrated the fire hole in the center of the earth, triggering an earth fire and causing a catastrophic disaster. But speaking of it, the mastermind behind this incident is Ime. Zhu Xiaozi was obviously on Tongyi Island, but he watched the Yi family brothers suffer and let Yi Xiu take the blame. Later, when he had a huge quarrel with Master Tianke, he came out to quell the trouble, and successfully reaped a wave of merit and earned 2 favors. This method can be called turning one's hands to make clouds and turning one's hands to make rain. It's no wonder that Ime will prosper under the leadership of a few people and become the overlord of this world. Su Junming raised his hand and pointed, and the pure yang fire filled the sky, turning into 8 fire dragons, flying up and down around the magnetic peak. He wanted to ensure that this pure yang true fire could not damage the Taiyuan magnetic essence in the magnetic peak, but also refine the impurities in the mountain peak. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 567. Pure Yang True Fire is one of the Taoist 3 flavors of true fire. It is the hottest and masculine. After being enveloped by the flames, within a quarter of an hour, the black stone on the surface of the magnetic peak melts rapidly. Countless impurities were burned to ashes by real fire. The height of the magnetic peak also began to slowly decrease. The whole process lasted for 1 day, and most of the Copper Yet Island disciples could no longer hold on. Master Tianke frowned slightly and flew down. He stretched out his finger, and the mana flowed in to support the formation. "You'll go and rest nearby to recover your mana." After hearing this, all the disciples felt as if they had been granted amnesty. They quickly took back the magic tablets, swallowed the elixir, and meditated to restore the consumed magic power. Although Master Tianke's cultivation is only in the early stage of heavenly immortality, his magic power is far superior to that of all the disciples of Copper Coconut Island. 3 days later, Chen Lin began to sweat on his forehead and his breath became unstable. Seeing this, Su Junming opened his mouth and spat out a stream of pure yang true fire, replacing Chen Lin. "Don't insist, go and rest nearby." After Chen Lin opened his eyes, he nodded tiredly. "Walk to the side, sit down cross-legged, and restore your mana." When the disciples of Copper Coconut Island recovered their magic power, Master Tianke withdrew his hand and asked them to continue to activate the formation to transform the greenwood spiritual energy. This went on for 3 months in the blink of an eye. Chen Lin also took a break more than a dozen times, but only Su Junming never took a break in 3 months. He has been maintaining the pure yang true fire burning the magnetic peak. Despite this, there was not much fatigue on his face. The mana and soul strength of the late immortals are not at the same level as those of ordinary monks, if not for the purpose of saving energy and training Chen Lin. He can refine this magnetic peak by himself. Su Junming understood in his heart when he looked at the mountain that had turned into a 1,000-foot-long mountain with a glass-like surface. About there. This magnetic peak has been trained by Master Tianke for hundreds of years and has been separated from the ordinary world. Now he has been trained by Chunyang True Fire Sacrifice for another 3 months, and has reached the peak of mortal spiritual materials. The next step up is the level of fairy material. To cross this step, Chen Lin's pure Yang True Fire is not hot enough, so he must use the innate Taishi spiritual fire in the Tiangong Divine Furnace. "Okay, everyone, stop it." The sound was like thunder, instantly waking up everyone including Chen Lin. The rolling sound waves are full of a convincing power that seems to penetrate directly into the soul. Even Master Tianke cannot have the slightest thought of disobedience. This is even more the case for other Copper Yet Island disciples. Master Tianke reacted with surprise. What a powerful divine soul Xuanyan! As soon as the thought came to an end, his attention was attracted by the magnetic peak in the distance. Even though he was hundreds of feet away, he could still clearly sense that although the height of the magnetic peak had dropped by more than half compared to the past, its hardness had increased several times. In particular, the power of Taoist magnetism not only did not decrease, but was evenly integrated into every stone. It seems like it was born this way. What a brilliant weapon refining method! He can also do it by letting the power of Taoist magnetic merge into the magnetic peak. But if he wanted to make the fused magnetic force in every stone so uniform and almost equal, he couldn't do it no matter what. This requires not only superb cultivation, but also exquisite weapon refining techniques and the accumulation of countless experiences. "Stay away." With the same voice that penetrated the soul, even though Master Tianke was on guard, he still had the thought of retreating involuntarily. After quickly extinguishing this thought, Master Tianke took a deep breath, looked at the tall figure in front of him with complicated eyes, and in his eyes became more and more majestic, and silently stepped back. There was no time to care what happened to Master Tianke. After everyone retreated, Su Junming's heart moved. The palace treasure tree rushed out from above the head. Before Master Tianke could be surprised at how powerful the greenwood spiritual energy condensed on this small green tree was, an even more powerful aura rushed out from it. In an instant, the clouds surged, as if huge waves were emptying. A bronze giant tripod with 3 legs and 2 ears appeared in front of everyone. The giant cauldron is 10 feet high, with cloud and thunder patterns embossed on its surface, making it look simple and elegant. The lid of the tripod is made up of 13 golden lotuses, 1 big and 12 small, clustered together. Although there are not thousands of auspicious colors or thousands of auras, the aura emanating from this cauldron is indeed so powerful that Master Tianqi has only seen it in his life. This cauldron must be an ancient treasure. Just when he was shocked, Su Junming stretched out his hand. The largest golden lotus flower above the Tiangong divine furnace erupted with a bright spiritual light, spread out, and enveloped the entire magnetic peak. The finger formulas changed and the magic power was activated. Su Junming drank in his mouth. Rise. Rumble, the ground trembled instantly. The turbid waves around Tongyi Island were surging into the sky, and the giant whale in the sea was frightened. It screamed instantly, and along with the whale's cry, water columns rose into the sky. Under the shocked gazes of Master Tianqi and the disciples of Copper Ye Island, Qianzhong magnetic peak was slowly pulled out of the ground. Including the underground part, the magnetic peak reached 3,000 feet. When it got closer to the golden lotus, it slowly shrank, and finally became the size of an adult's fist and disappeared into the golden lotus. The lotus flower fell into the copper furnace, and 9 gentle innate purple fires instantly surrounded it. Under the immortal fire sacrifice, the speed at which the magnetic peak removes impurities instantly accelerated several times. Pieces of broken 5 black magazines flew out of the transom reserved for the Tiangong divine furnace, and disappeared into the outside world with the astonishing heat. Gurgling, the sound of countless swallowing saliva sounded. This is true even for many old disciples who have been practicing for many years and are well informed. Without him, if you look at the huge bottomless cave in the distance, and then recall the scene where the big peaks and mountains were taken away, everyone will marvel at the great power of that real person. Even Master Tianqi is like this, and as the master of Copper Coconut Island, he is more aware of the difficulty of pinching this magnetic peak. Not only because of its weight, but also because of its connection to underground magnetic veins. If you want to lift it up, you must pull it with the force of Taoist magnetism that is stronger than the magnetic veins. With the magnetic peak weighing hundreds of millions of tons, the pulling force is astonishing. With his cultivation level, he would never be able to lift it. Otherwise, there would not be such a good piece of material lying around, which has not been refined into a treasure for many years. Seeing Master Tianqi and the disciples of Copper Ye Island looking at his master's shocked and respectful eyes, Chen Lin also had the thought of being honored. The days passed day by day, and soon it was half a year again. Su Junming had been sitting cross-legged in the air. That day, the divine furnace had shrunk its spiritual light, making no movement at all, and no heat was released. Like a bronze stone, unchanged. But the more it is like this, the more it reflects the tyranny of this divine furnace. Master Tianqi had already sealed the Copper Coconut Island with a large formation, and together with the disciples on the island, they guarded Su Junming for half a year. Suddenly there was a powerful wave of spiritual energy. Master Tianqi, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes, glanced at Chenlu and Su Junming, who were still motionless, and then turned his head to look in the direction of the spiritual energy explosion. A pale golden light of pure sunlight and a red golden sword energy circled around a young man of about 10 years old, wearing Taoist attire, with a jade-like face and majestic hair. Every time the sword energy and aura circle around, the boy's aura becomes stronger and stronger. After about a quarter of an hour, the breath on the young man slowly calmed down. I never thought that this boy is so talented. He looks young, and he majors in swordsmanship and Chunyang Dao at the same time. He can break through the second level of Yuan Shen so quickly, said the heavenly Qi master. As soon as the thought came to an end, I felt a little envious in my heart. Although he has many disciples, few can compare to this man. Chen Lin opened his eyes, and a trace of excitement flowed across his face. I have already reached the second level of Yuan Shen. With the help of my mentor's 9 yellow pills, I will be able to restore my original cultivation level in 3 to 5 years, and then I will be ready to go through the immortal tribulation. Fairy. He has been pursuing this realm for 3 lifetimes and has seen hope. Noticing the concerned eyes not far away from him, Chen Lin's heart moved, and he turned his head and nodded to Master Tianke. His cultivation time is 200 years less than Master Tianke, and strictly speaking, he is 1 generation shorter. But in the world of spiritual practice, cultivation is the foundation. Based on his original state, in terms of fighting ability, he is not inferior to Master Tianke. Boom! A buzzing sound interrupted Chen Lin's thoughts. He quickly turned his head and looked around, and saw that the Tiangong divine furnace, which was originally extremely calm, was now blooming with endless spiritual light, and the mighty spiritual energy roared in. The sky was stormy and black clouds were gathering. Seeing this scene, Master Tianke's expression instantly became excited. The noise outside Tongyi Island is getting louder and louder, and within 1,000 miles there is a dark cloud, and the wind is howling, as if the end is coming. Right now. Su Junming suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 cold lightning flashed across the sky. Rise! In an instant, a golden lotus flower flew out of the divine furnace, the layers of lotus leaves peeled off, and a dazzling white light bloomed. The moment the lotus leaves were fully opened, a vast white light rose into the sky, but was quickly blocked by a tough cyan light film. As the 2 sides clashed, the cyan light film trembled violently. Hurry up and open the protective formation. Master Tianke, who looked anxious, quickly ordered, and the disciples hurriedly removed the formation. White light rushed out of the copper coconut island like lightning, and at the same time, a thick thunder struck from the sky. Boom! Thunder and lightning. The intense white light was also disturbed by the thunder and gradually calmed down. Only then did everyone see clearly that in the white light was a jade plate about 1 foot 3 inches in diameter and completely white. The jade plate is surrounded by fairy light, entwined with the energy of Taoist. Even though they were thousands of feet apart, the disciples on Copper Ye Island could feel a powerful spiritual pressure from them. Thunder and lightning, flames, and golden wind swept over. The jade plate flashes with light and has withstood the test of the immortal weapon tribulation. As the owner of this treasure, Master Tianke looked particularly nervous, his eyes constantly staring at the jade plate in mid-air. It wasn't until the last thunderstorm passed that he breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that the power of the jade plate increased several times after absorbing the innate spiritual energy, Master Tianke showed a long-lost smile on his face. Just as he was about to say thank you to Su Junming, a black shadow suddenly flew out of the calamity cloud in the distance and rushed toward the jade plate as fast as lightning. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 568. Haha, crazy old man, it's rare that you have refined such a wonderful treasure. I will take you to use it for a few days to test its quality. Master Tianqi was furious when he heard this. Gang Kun, how dare you? Gang Kun, a Taoist of wings, is a casual cultivator who has been famous for many years in the East China Sea. He has a trace of the blood of the golden winged daepen in his body. He is born with 2 wings and is invulnerable to swords. He can also fly without any trace and control the wind and clouds. He is both good and evil, and his Taoism is superb. Although he has not become an earthly immortal, he is still a spiritual soul who has been perfected for many years. He got entangled with a group of sea monsters and had a grudge against Mrs. Tianhu Baoxiang for killing her brother. The latter went through the tribulation and tried to stop her, but was beaten up by Yimei, who was well prepared and almost died. At this moment, this man-animal hybrid guy was rushing toward the white jade plate that was still absorbing the spiritual energy of creation in mid-air. Although his cultivation level is not as good as that of Master Tianke, he is confident that he will be able to win this Zifu immortal artifact with great speed. Seeing the white jade plate close at hand, I suddenly felt the pressure around me rising. I subconsciously looked up and my liver and gallbladder were split instantly. A bamboo stick that shone with green aura but had a heavy pressure was hitting him on the back. He just wanted to dodge, but the bamboo stick fell down at an alarming speed. It hit him on the back instantly. Bang sound. An immense force exploded. The wings that were usually invulnerable to swords seemed to have lost their function, and the severe pain overwhelmed the nerves. With a series of screams, Yi Taoist Gangkun fell like a meteor, crashing into the sea with a bang. Seeing this scene, Master Tianke, who was about to catch up, stopped instantly. Su Junming stretched out his hand and the bamboo stick flew into his hand. Run? How can I let you run away? He raised his left hand and grasped forward. In an instant, the wind and clouds hundreds of miles away were surging ahead. A huge five-color hand that was thousands of feet in diameter, like a huge mountain tilted upside down, plunged into the sea with a bang in the shocked eyes of everyone around him. Middle. In an instant, huge waves surged into the sky. It seemed like a hurricane was blowing up within hundreds of miles. Soon, the giant palm retracted, and after arriving at the copper coconut island, there was a click sound. A man nearly 10 feet tall, with 2 wings on his back, a copper head and an iron forehead, red arms, bare feet, and slender toes, as if the young man with the claws of a bird landed in front of Su Junming. Is he Gangkun, a Yudao man? Master Tianke nodded, with anger in his eyes. If it weren't for Su Junming's superb Taoism, he would have lost the treasure he had worked so hard to practice today. Su Junming patted the green gourd on his waist, and the light blue aura enveloped Gangkun, and he took it in. It would be a pity to kill such a good coolie. With Gangkun's example in front of him, those around him who secretly covet the treasure no longer dare to take the lead. Su Junming stretched out his hand and the white jade plate fell into his palm. After playing with it for a while, he handed it to Master Tianke. Although you have been practicing for hundreds of years, the material of the magnetic peak is still a bit inferior. After several times of condensation, Pandeo only practiced 2 immortal taboos in it. But with the help of the magnetic vein, its power is extraordinary. Take a look. You can choose the name yourself. Master Tianke held the white jade plate in both hands. After careful consideration, a look of gratitude appeared on his face. Thank you, Master, for cultivating this treasure for me. Su Junming nodded slightly. Where is the 10,000 years heavenly coconut sacred tree? Master Tianke's expression changed slightly and he turned half around. Please come with me, real person. Master Tianke took Master Su Junming and his disciples to a valley in the back mountain of Tongyi Island. As soon as I entered, I felt the extremely rich aura of Jiamu here. In the valley, there are tens of feet high and as thick as 100 people hugging the heavenly coconut tree. Although there are not as many as outside, each tree is more than 5,000 years old. Especially the 2 middle ones are 100 feet high. The thick trunks are like jade pillars, and the green leaves spread out, blocking a large area of sunlight. The aura of the armor wood blooming on the tree is obviously several levels higher than that of the surrounding heavenly coconut trees. Real person, this is it. Master Tianke pointed to a plant on the left. Compared with the heavenly coconut tree on the right, although this one is also 10,000 years old, it is much younger, and of course its quality is also worse. Su Junming nodded, opened his left palm, and a small hole with purple light appeared in his palm. Master Tianke is a discerning person, and he instantly felt the aura above, which was stronger than his own Tai magnetic optical disc. Tai magnetic optical disc was the name he gave his new magical weapon. Sure enough, the real person is unparalleled in refining weapons. Once he takes action, he will be the first-class Zifu immortal weapon. Su Junming heard the envy in his words and didn't say much. He activated the small hoe and swung it towards the heavenly coconut tree. In an instant, the purple light surged and enveloped the 10,000 years heavenly coconut tree. Just a moment later, the 100-foot-long 10,000-year-old sacred coconut tree slowly flew out of the soil. Master Tianke was surprised to find that the root system of this sacred tree was intact and there was no sign of damage. A small jasper tree rushed out from above Su Junming's head. The tree shot out a ray of green light. He pinched the sacred coconut tree and pulled it in instantly. Immediately afterwards, the small jade tree disappeared at Su Junming's door again. After getting what he wanted, Su Junming, who had been delayed on Copper Yet Island for nearly a year, didn't want to stay any longer. Fellow Taoist heavenly crazy, the work of refining the treasure has been completed, and it's time for me to say goodbye. It's hard work for real people to refine treasures, why not rest on my copper coconut island for a few days before leaving? Haha, no need. I've been wasting time here long enough. I have to travel around the world, and I won't be able to rest on the way. Farewell. Having said that, without waiting for Master Tianke to reply, he waved his sleeves and the master and disciple disappeared instantly. Master Tianke's consciousness spread throughout the copper coconut island, but Master Su Junming and his disciple were not found. Apparently they have left here. What a powerful escape! Senior Kongshan's magical power is really unimaginably high. No wonder he was able to defeat the god Nefenchuo and suppress the Yi Taoist Gangkun with just one move. Thousands of miles away from Copper Coconut Island, a large black hole appeared from nothingness, and a ray of light flew out of it, landing in the shape of Su Junming and Chen Lin. Master, where should we go next? Go back to Chongshan residence to rest for a while before making any plans. Including the Dingdi Divine Pillar and Pan Tuo Spear, he had been refining treasures for nearly 2 years. He was tired and wanted to take a rest. Although Tongyi Island is good, and Master Tianke is even more attentive, but as the saying goes, a golden nest and a silver nest are not as good as your own doghouse. Su Junming still feels that his Chongshan residence is better. Moreover, compared to Copper Coconut Island, his Chongshan residence was far superior to this crazy master's dojo in terms of its miraculousness and richness of spiritual energy. Returning to Chongshan residence, he patted the green gourd on his waist, and Gangkun's soul flew out. The human soul divine gate shot out a spiritual light from the center of Su Junming's eyebrows, grabbed Gangkun's soul and flew in. Soon his memories, like a silent movie, appeared one by one in Su Junming's sea of consciousness. Chiyu's 3 Panjing. Su Junming has obtained 2 volumes of Chu's 3 Panjings. One was obtained from the old demon of Montenegro, and the other was the 3 Pans of Chiyu in the hands of Gangkun. Although the names are the same, the content is different. The Chiyu 3 Panjing written by the old demon from Haishan is a secret scripture of the witch clan and a magical bodybuilding skill. Gangkun's book is about magic methods. It contains secret demonic powers of the great and small heavens, 5 yin gods and demons, 7 magical lamps and other methods. They are profound and can achieve the path of magic. Su Junming took a blank jade slip, recorded Gangkun's 3 Pans of Chu Sutra, and then put it into the library. Although he does not practice magic, he can learn from many of his magical skills.